It is your prisonplanet.tv memberships that fund so much of what we do here on this operation. And then we're more than happy for the TV show after it's aired live, then be leaked out onto the web to tens of millions of people. That's our goal. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Wednesday, the 9th day of January, 2013. And if you go up to Infowars.com, we have on the site the video of Piers Morgan last night where he said he'd like to have me back on again, which I'm ready to do via satellite whenever he wants. And they went on to talk about they hope my kids don't get killed while my children were in the room. And I thought that was cryptic. And then the next guest comes on, 3 of them, and says that Piers Morgan needs to shoot me with a semi-auto. And then the daughter of Governor Huntsman, Ambassador Huntsman, says that she'd like to see him dress up in a uniform because it's okay. He has the authority. That was all scripted. And then Piers Morgan says, maybe I'll wear my brother's uniform. He always talks about how his brother is in the military. And then he tells the Marine who's on, who was excellent, by the way, bet bottom dollar that guy's a listener. I want to get him on. I've wanted to get him on since last week. He was listening. And the Marine explains that we have guns to protect ourselves from government, not about hunting. And Piers is like, well, you've done a great job in all your combat. You can have guns, but the citizens can't. So I'm ready to debate you, Piers Morgan. In fact, if you wanted to have a moderator with a time clock and then say, I could present my questions, you could present your questions, they could present their questions. That way, obviously, you could still rig it with, you can even have your own moderator, as long as I have the same amount of time. You could have even, rig it where people send in the tweets that you choose from. I just want to be able to ask my 5 questions. And we can have an hour-long debate, and instead of having 500,000 viewers, I think you're noticing this now, you'd have about 5 million. 10 million maybe, like CNN used to have. I mean, folks know we don't want to be lectured all day and hear the Second Amendment demonized over and over and over again ad nauseum. I mean, people know, and they know that statistically mass shootings are as rare as the tooth fairy. They know you're pulling on heartstrings. That's why they've tuned out. And you know that. And by the way, when I was talking to the producers off air, before I got on, they went and looked up the radio stations we're on. They went and got the numbers. They have numbers. They know how to get unlisted numbers of people that even have somebody else get them a phone. I mean, it's definitely government-type stuff. And they knew. They said, oh, no, we know you have 3 million listeners a day. We know you have 15 million a week. We know. And Piers Morgan on air is like, you have an incredible reach. You shouldn't have it. And guess who else said that? Glenn Beck. I saw 15 minutes last night on YouTube of him yesterday starting a show that made me really ashamed for him. And we're going to have Jakari Jackson in here later to play some of the clips. I mean, it went on for hours, but it's 15 minutes long. We'll play a few clips of it. He said, I'm a liar. He said, I am spooky. These are quotes. I'm dangerous. I'm a fascist. And then I'm a liar. Call me a fat idiot, yeah, and a bunch of other stuff. And he also, well, his minion called me a fat idiot. And he also said that people come up to him saying they've bought 1.6 billion bullets, and he said, this guy is lying to you. Don't believe him. And that's why I don't like Glenn Beck. And folks, I don't attack Michael Savage, Rush Limbaugh, any of them. Okay? I mean, I don't want Rush Limbaugh to have a heart attack and die so that I get his radio stations, literally. I'm not that kind of guy. So I'm not like mad at Glenn Beck because, he's made hundreds of millions of dollars. I'm mad at him because he's always been there behind the scenes trying to keep me down. And he lies to his audience and then tells them I'm a liar. I mean, if anybody is a manipulating, sack of garbage. It's Glenn Beck. I mean, you're the liar, you little ninny. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the biggest story in the country right now is my appearance Monday night on Piers Morgan. Last night, The Daily Show responded. Conan O'Brien responded. They did stuff like superimpose a gun in my hand shooting Piers Morgan with the real video from the show. It's like something out of The Running Man. There's the proof that Mad Dog Ben Richards is really the brutal butcher of Bakersfield. I mean, they could put my head on Obama's and, you know, have me walking around saying whatever they want or putting whatever they want in my hands. And obviously it's comedy, but it still puts out the archetypal image that we as gun owners are violent and bad. Meanwhile, ladies and gentlemen, the founder of SPS Russian, the biggest gun show in the world, not just on YouTube, about 100 million viewers on average a month, just on YouTube, biggest gun show in the world, was tied up at his offices, he's a gun manufacturer, and shot in the back of the head execution style. The biggest gun show in the world, the founder, dead. And it's in the back of the local Georgia papers that it's a state police murder investigation. He was executed assassin mafia style. Tied up in a chair, expertly, shot in the back of the head, execution style. We have also discovered in Military Times that other gun manufacturers and people are dying mysteriously. Now, you remember the head of the Northeast Intelligence Network, who I want to work on getting on tomorrow, Doug Hagman. Maybe even pop in today if he can do it. He said 2 weeks ago on this show, but I want to go back and find the clip. You know, it's one thing for me to say, oh, he was on the show and said this, and new listeners are like, yeah, I bet. We have to, like, it's why we got to hire some more crew, because you guys are working really hard, but I need staff to go back and go, okay, that was the, not the last interview, but the interview before last. It was like 2 weeks ago. We've got to go into that interview, and he says, my federal source, he's got a lot of those sources, says there's going to be a purge. And he goes, assassinations of pro-gun leaders. And it'll look like you get mugged or crack dealers go after you. And that's why whenever I was being stalked in New York by what looked like police, and normally, again, you're going to CNN, you're walking 10 blocks because they wanted to have a car deliver us. I said, no, I'll walk. I wanted some exercise. I wanted to wake back up because I've been up since 5 a.m. And, you know, one guy pops out, looks like a cop. On a street, you're walking up 10 blocks, taking turns. He goes, hey, Alex Jones, I'm a big fan. And you think, okay, that guy's a listener. But then it happens with another guy. Then you see other guys with the windbreakers and the obvious cop type. I mean, once you've been around this 100 times, you know what it looks like. And I've been around Bloomberg a few times where he has like 15 detectives around him. That's his security, and that's exactly how they act. The whole confident thing where they act like gangsters, basically, these type of detectives. I've been around quite a few of them in Los Angeles, too, but they're more like assassin types. Look like more like old special forces types in Los Angeles. But the point is that basically I describe them as people out of central casting from The Sopranos. Same look, same confident face, same deal. Like, you know, I've done a lot of bad things to people. And, you know, enough to where it wasn't that I was scared at a physical level. It was in my gut. I said, you need to live to fight another day. Something's bad here. Are they going to drop something on you? What's going to happen? And it kept happening. And then they were in the hotel. We left that night. That's why I didn't basically sleep. Took us a long time to get to New Jersey. I mean, I left. You know, you're in hotels paying cash. Just because when you've got, I don't know, let's not exaggerate, 7 detectives following you and looking at you like they want to kill you, it's a serious situation. And I didn't know that the day before that, SPS Russian founder had been murdered. And I didn't know that some other, it's all pro-gun, gun show people. They canceled 3 shows on Discovery that were top-rated, including Jesse James's. And by the way, I got his number and know him. Now's the time to get on the show. I just need to go ahead and get him on, talk about what happened behind the scenes with that. He lives here in Austin, is a listener. And all of this is just happening. And then last night I'm sitting there and imagine this. There's a big storm. Our satellite dish is out, blown out or whatever. I live in the country. Ron Paul's coming up, by the way. And our internet's not working too good for whatever reason. And so I go, okay, I guess we'll watch Piers Morgan. So we're watching it on the computer. And they've got the first guest on going, gee, I hope Alex Jones's kids don't get killed. And the guy just comes off like an absolute scripted actor. Just my view on it. I feel sorry for his loss or whatever, but it's one of the victims' families from Aurora. And he's like, I sure hope nothing happens to his kids. I sure hope. And Piers is like, I sure hope too. And my kids are all like, what? 4 years old, 8 years old, 10 years old. And I said, oh, it's nothing. The internet feed of the show live starts cutting out. So I'm in there reading books to them. We're in the bedroom watching TV on the computer. My wife's there. And it cuts back on, and there's a Daily Beast reporter on there, a senior reporter, and he's saying, you need to get a gun and shoot Alex Jones. And then the daughter of Ambassador Huntsman says, oh, I'd love that. We're going to play it here in a moment. And then Piers Morgan says, I could dress up in my brother's uniform. So this is just very bizarre. And then there's all the quotes about how groups want to kill the NRA president or go after Larry Pratt. By the way, Larry Pratt's popping in today. He's going to be on Piers Morgan tonight. Head of Gun Owners of America. So this is the type of stuff going on. And if more prominent gun owners, because if I was the globalist, I even said privately around here, I said, if this is true, they'll kill people like FPS Russian. Because if you don't know what that is, it's the most popular gun show in the world. It's online, and it's probably had 10 times the viewers of top shows on Discovery Channel that they've now just canceled. 600 million views on YouTube alone. And they were accelerating. It took them a couple years to get 100 million views. And now the last year or so, they got another 500 million views. They've got all these other platforms with hundreds of millions of views. I mean, they were dominating, making guns fun. They started getting girls in bikinis out there shooting machine guns. And I said, if this purge is real, they will go after those guys first. Because, see, I'm here politically trying to wake people up. What really works is making guns fun and sexy. And now that guy's dead. And some other people have been killed. I've got a video, an article up at Infowars.com about it. Some other prominent pro-gun people have died mysteriously. And I'm getting followed by guys that are looking at me like they want to kill me. And again, I'm telling CNN security when they're walking us out, I go, I want to go out the mall entrance that's open. And they go, no, you're going out this way. And I knew the entrance was right behind me to the mall. Because there's a big mall. It's built into a mall. And I didn't want to have a confrontation. I was like, all right, start rolling your camera as we're walking out. So we catch one of the detectives, and he turns what looks like one of the detectives, talking into his sleeve and walks into the wall, walks into the corner. It was that pathetic. And then there's other guys, and dude's like, you want to get footage? And I think he aired some of it last night. I couldn't watch the nightly news shows. I was driving home at that time. He did air it. And there's like two more of them coming down, cops like this. And I go, taxi. And we jump in a taxi. And I'm like, don't drive me to my hotel, drive me somewhere else. We drive a few blocks over, and I walk up, and now the street's blocked off in front of our hotel. I'm like, that's it. I walk in. There's more of the guys sitting there waiting for us with newspapers looking up when we come in. I'm like, let's get out of here. And these guys were in suits. So let me tell you, there may be the beginning of a purge against gun owners, and and they're going to go after those of us that are prominent. If I get pulled over and the cop claims I pulled a gun on them, it's not true. If I get shot in the head. I mean, I've seen, they executed a CIA guy a few years ago. Carney was his last name in Houston. And they just get him out of the car. He steps out, and the cop shoots him in the head. And the news said, well, that's okay. He's allowed to do that. And he'd been blowing the whistle, according to our NSA source. Well, I have one NSA source, and then one that's public. I have Wayne Madsen, and he confirmed what our other source said. So if they just pull me over to shoot me in the head, hey, I'm a martyr. Just know it's on. Canary in the coal mine. If I'm found dead in a hotel room with a hooker, I don't go to hotel rooms with hookers. I don't use illegal drugs. I don't even use prescription drugs. I mean, I've had like broken legs before and didn't want to take the painkillers. It makes me nauseous. If I get run over walking down the street, you can bet I was killed. If I'm struck by a bolt of lightning, you can bet it was a setup. Another way they'll do it is if I get carjacked. I mean, they killed a Palestinian activist who was a professor who wasn't doing anything, and his arms and legs were duct taped, and his throat slit into ear. And I had, it was a progressive Muslim group, pretty mainline, and I had the imam call me. I think he may have been on the show. And they talked about they got the body from the APD, and then it later came out in the news, and he'd been tortured to death, and he was all bound with duct tape. And the police said, well, you can get bound with duct tape and slit your own throat and stuff and throw yourself into Lake Austin, which is really a river. It's Colorado River. They call it Lake Austin. I'm sorry, they changed the name again. It's now Lady Bird Lake. Maybe they'll call it, Possum Lake next. I don't know. But if I get found with duct tape, I mean, it's like Fahmy Malek, the Arkansas medical examiner under Clinton, where people would have their arms and legs cut off, machine gunned in a trash pile. And they'd say the person killed themselves. You cannot chop your arms and legs and head off. It's like when they killed Gary Webb, the Pulitzer Prize winner on Dark Majesty and Dark Alliance, the CIA drug dealing. He had a new book coming out totally documenting it even more. And I talked to friends of his, said his house was getting broken into. He'd moved. He'd seen special forces guys from his two-story sliding down the drainage poles like in a movie. And they had him sign a deal saying that he was going to commit suicide, and then shot him twice in the head. First, they blew his jaw off. They really killed him with a shotgun. The police had a revolver. So just get it straight, folks. They may start killing us. Stay with us. I'm Alex Jones, your host. We're here Monday through Friday, 12 noon to 3 p.m. Eastern. That's 9 a.m. to noon Pacific, 10 to 1 Mountain, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central. Infowars.com and prisonplanet.com are the websites. Prisonplanet.tv streams the video, the radio, and nightly news. And, of course, we also have the audio streams at Infowars.com as well. We're on XM 166 and over 100, almost 150 AM and FM affiliates across the country. Ron Paul is coming up. I was just walking back there, and CNN was re-airing a clip of what we're about to play here. So this is the message being sent out. This is what they said on CNN last night on Piers Morgan before they called for me to be shot in the next panel. Here is a clip from Piers Morgan.
I don't want Alex Jones to get the phone call at 3 o'clock in the morning that one of his children have been shot and killed by somebody who shouldn't have a handgun or a rifle or a automatic weapon. I don't want him to get that phone call.
No,
okay.
well, I think
that
is the whole point. And you
yeah, that is the whole point. Okay, and so I'm watching that, and then the next panel comes on, and again, this article is up at Infowars.com. You can go to the site. Piers Morgan and guests discuss shooting Alex Jones. It's the bottom of the featured news. We're going to move it back to the top of the featured news. It's also at drudgereport.com on the left-hand side by the Piers Morgan photos, an easy way to find it. And here you have in this clip, Daily Beast writer Buzz Bissinger says Piers Morgan should pop Alex Jones with a semi-automatic weapon. Then Abby Huntsman, who looks like her father with a wig on, the governor and ambassador to China, top globalist, just absolute New World Order pusher, said, I'd love to see that in uniform, because that's psych warfare. Oh, you're in a uniform, you kill him, it's okay. And Piers goes, maybe I'll wear my brother's, who's been in the military. So Piers Morgan is saying, I'll borrow my brother's uniform to shoot Alex Jones. Now, people could say, oh, that must be a joke. If I would have said, hey, Piers Morgan, I might get a gun and shoot you, I guarantee you they would have arrested me on the spot. And they had the plainclothes detectives there milling around inside and out. I guarantee it. And this is becoming a story that's been picked up by several newspapers because they all basically get their newsroom info from drudgereport.com. I appreciate Drudge putting that up there because I need coverage of this, or I mean, we're all hanging together here, or we hang separate. I mean, this is really coming down to the wire, and they're in there finding the Doug Hagman clip from 2 weeks ago where he said they're going to start killing prominent proponents of the Second Amendment. And I noticed that they're saying I'm dangerous, I shouldn't have a platform. Glenn Beck said the exact same thing. We're getting clips of that for later. And I got to tell you, it's creepy. This is not the type of attention I like. But I've got to do it. All I can do is speak up and get in their face and try to get folks out of their trance. You know, I just prayed to God, help me do a good job, and that's what I did. And you know, I'm the guy in the arena. It's easy to be the critic out there, but what about the person in the arena who's got the dust in their eyes and who's bloodied in the fight, who knows the great... You guys print me the Teddy Roosevelt quote. I want to cover that. Let's go ahead and now go to this clip of a man that looks completely deranged. The author of Friday Night Lights, it's actually a pretty good book, up there fantasizing, and I've been around these people behind the scenes with, quote, liberals. All they ever talk about is how they want to shoot us and kill us. See, they're not liberals. They're authoritarians. And here is the clip where they fantasize about dressing up in uniforms and shooting me. Here it is.
But what do you need a semi-automatic weapon for? The only reason I think you need it is, Piers, challenge Alex Jones to a boxing match, show up with a semi-automatic that you got legally, and pop him.
I'd love to see that. In uniform.
I'll borrow my brother's uniform.
I don't think more guns are the answer here. I mean, there are a lot of
Well, they keep saying, don't they? More guns, less crime.
Exactly.
More guns, less crime. In fact, that's just not backed up by any real evidence.
It's not. And we talked about the founding fathers earlier, but they did not intend to live in a society, the modern society that we live in today.
I mean, they always tell us what the founders stood for. Ladies and gentlemen, since guns proliferated the last 20 years, I've shown you the statistics about 50 times. I'm not going to do it again. FBI.gov. Over a 20% crime rate drop in the last 16, 17 years, depending on how you look at it. And most of it in the last 5 to 6 years. 11 to 12% of it, depending on how you cut it, has happened just since 2007. And that's the new crime numbers from 2011. They come out a year later. They're very accurate statistics compiled by local police departments and integrated with federal numbers. Violent crimes get reported. And violent crime is down because criminals are getting their butts shot off everywhere. By the way, of the 11,000 people that die every year, most of it's gangbangers, and the rest is suicide. It's a very small portion of innocents. But see, out of 315 million people, they can show a one guy shooting his wife once a week and make it sound like it's an epidemic. All right, we'll be back. Congressman Ron Paul is coming up. There's a lot more today. The attack on the Second Amendment is on. Well, it's our first visit with Ron Paul of 2013. He is now the former congressman. The first time I interviewed him, he was running for Congress again, I guess back in 95, 96. And he'd been in Congress once before as a libertarian. And, of course, went back as a Republican. And he has been our greatest defender of liberty, worldwide loved and admired. He's got big announcements coming up soon. I've heard the rumors, and I'll see if he'll give us any hint. But he joins us, obviously, to talk about the fiscal cliff that he said we've already gone over a long time ago. What's happening with that? The Sandy Hook shooting, the announcements of the NSA openly spying on us. It's like everything Ron Paul talked about 15 years ago and got called a conspiracy theorist is now just out in the open. And former congressman and really omnibudsman of liberty worldwide, thank you so much for spending time with us.
Good to be with you.
Did you have a good Christmas?
Yep, very good. Family got here. We had a lot of fun and didn't solve any world problems.
I need to learn how to unplug as well. Wow, you heard what I threw out there, sir. Where would you like to start first?
Well, the things that I've talked about is mostly, the general, deterioration of our individual freedoms and our liberties in our markets. But I think the big thing as I wound down my career dealt with, financial and the economy. And I think both major parties and most members of Congress are in total denial as to what the real problem is, because they think it's just a budget. If we change this number, raise taxes, cut spending, pretend to cut spending, we solve the problem. And I think it's much bigger than that. I think, first off, the country is bankrupt. We're insolvent. We can't pay the bills, and they won't admit it. I mean, we have these obligations of $220 trillion in national debt, of $16 trillion. We're the biggest foreign debtor nation ever. And that is ignored, and they talk about, what they're going to do with tinkering with the tax code, and they talk about cuts, which aren't cuts. It's just all deceit and trying to fool the people into believing that they can tinker with a budget. But I think the problem is government is too big, They don't follow the Constitution. They don't know what the rule of government ought to be in a free society, and they don't admit we're bankrupt. And oftentimes I've used this saying that, are we going to go over the cliff? Well, in many ways, we're over the cliff in that we're not going to retrace ourselves. If you're over a cliff, you just don't have a chance to climb back up. And we really don't. We're not going to have enough people in Congress in the next go-around, or do we have them now? We have better people now, and we're going to have some people speaking for us. But we can't go back and all of a sudden balance our budget, remove the regulations, and protect our liberties. All we have to do is listen to our president, what his plans are. But the Republicans aren't, doing a whole lot more, because we're facing a situation where it took 100 years for our governments and our schools to indoctrinate our people to accepting the idea that the role of government ought to be to take care of us and provide perfect safety and make sure nobody falls through, the net, and take care of people and the whole world. And I think we have to address the subject, what should the role of government be? The founders made an attempt at it. They wrote a constitution. We don't obey it. And to me, if we would accept the notion that the role of government is to protect our freedoms, provide some national defense for us, provide a sound currency, and protect our liberties, there would be no warfare state and there'd be no welfare state. And nobody wants to address that. And all this talk, neither Republicans or Democrats would even suggest about cutting the militarism. The only talk was, should we increase the military expenditures by 18% or 20%? The people who wanted 18% were castigated for slashing national defense and said they were, unpatriotic. So that is where the mess is. I see the mess that we're in, a problem of education, a consequence of 100 years of control of many generations,
Sure.
indoctrinating them into bad economic policy and bad foreign policy.
Congressman, you've talked about globalism, the Bilderberg Group, people like that, but it's now in the Financial Times of London. It's in hundreds of papers. In fact, we can probably pull some up and put them on screen, where they announce global government by the 6 mega banks. And I listened to Bloomberg Financial on XM, and they brag that they've conquered Europe with debt. They've signed the Europeans onto derivatives. They've got them dependent on socialism. But most of the debt is actually the central bank's debt that are really private. And now I see them wrecking us, Congressman, on purpose to make us debt slaves while also making us dependent. I mean, surely they know the facts. Even the Congressional Budget Office, as you know, 3 or 4 years ago said we were bankrupt. All these other government economists have admitted this. So you're not just somebody who studied economics. You're also a medical doctor. It's kind of like a patient that's got cancer all over their body. This is already a done deal. So what's your take on my statement that we've been maneuvered into rack and ruin by loan sharks? I mean, I think it's important to not just say they're a bunch of buffoons in D.C. Goldman Sachs, J.P. Morgan, and others, in my research, are just mafia organizations that want us as basically debt slaves on a sharecropping plantation.
I think it's partially true, but it also involved indoctrination through education. It's just not 10 or 15 people who get together and all of a sudden they can change people's minds. People endorse Keynesianism. They endorse the Federal Reserve. They endorse us being the policemen of the world and that we should have these wars in the Middle East. So they have been indoctrinated. Mm-hmm. And yes, there are a few who are going to benefit. But, I can't read into their minds. I don't know. They sit back and say, you know what, we're going to bankrupt the country and cause this chaos. I think they try to get away with manipulating and maneuvering and benefiting themselves both with power and money. And philosophically, it doesn't work out, so they have to react. So they take advantage of it. It's sort of like taking advantage. Don't let a major crisis go to waste. I mean, they create the problems. They think they're going to get away with it, and then when the crisis hits, they make use of it, and they say, "Well, we have to do." They're motivated by money and power, and they have to have control.
Sure, sure. I'm talking about.
They're smart enough to, on a daily basis, say, "Well, we're going to do A, and B is going to be results." I think there are mostly unintended consequences that occur, and they react. I'd like to get people to react differently.
I agree with you that at the mid-level and even the upper levels, obviously, it's just a corrupt system people have been born into now. But I'm talking about the 112-point plan that got leaked out of the World Bank when Joseph Stiglitz resigned, the Nobel Prize winner in economics, in 2002. It talked about how they manipulated third world countries into bankruptcy to take control, and it discussed doing it to the West. So at Bilderberg, from our sources, but also at Davos, I've got Herman von Rompuy, head of the EU, saying we're going to use the financial crisis to bring in the New World Order.
Well, that may be, and I don't know every individual who makes these plans, but I do know that I meet a lot of people who believe, I mean, you take a guy like Bernanke. I think Bernanke actually believes that junk. You know, I think he really believes that he's been sent here by the Creator to make sure we never have a Great Depression before because they didn't print the money fast enough. I don't think he sits and says, and goes much further than this, because he has invested a lifetime into proving this ideology. I think he's wrong. He's determined to prove he's right. So he creates trillions and trillions of dollars. And then these people that you're talking about, they know what's going on, and they line up, and they get involved, and they learn how to manipulate the system for political reasons. So we know that
there's different factions.
Our president has an agenda, and it's very, very clear. So he works his agenda with the system that exists.
I agree with you. There's different factions who only care about themselves, and together the perfect storm. But you're saying he thinks he's right, you think you're right. Sir, I watched a speech that's in our film Matrix of Evil you gave in 2003 at McKinney Ruff's right outside Austin, here in South Austin, and you laid out everything that was going to happen, how they'd use the drones here, how they'd have the NSA spy on us, how they would use the Patriot Act on the citizens, how when they collapse things, they would use that to take full control, how the derivatives bubble would work. I mean, it's like you're a prophet, but you're not. You were in there in the committees. You've studied history. You know what was going to happen. You said the stimulus wouldn't work. You said all these things wouldn't work. You said that the Republicans would vote to raise taxes. $1 of cuts for every 41 in spending increases. 77% of Americans with tax increases on payroll. I mean, it's like the lying. And what's happened is we've been eased into this tyranny, and so now you're here saying, well, we'll see who's going to be proven right. You've been proven right, Congressman. Toot your own horn.
Yeah. Well, I will keep tooting my horn about what I believe in, because I think there are those who do exactly what you're talking about. I remember very clearly George Bush Sr., you know, when the WTO came in, and you say that now so much of these plans are out in the open, and I think George Bush put them out in the open when he said, I saw a major ad, I think it was in the New York Times or something, that we put on the third leg of the New World Order. Before that, you couldn't say New World Order out loud. I mean, or you were a complete idiot or a nut job. But he put it out, and he says, we have it. Now we have the WTO, we have the IMF, and we have the World Bank. And I think, yes, but they have a philosophic belief that world government is good. And some of them believe it because they think world government, just like world communism, is good. And some people who joined communism, they were sincere. They thought it was good. But others are driven by power. They're driven by wealth and control, and they're psychopathic, and they want to use force against people. So I think they feed on each other is what I think happens. But I think but all governments reflect popular opinion. And
no, I agree with you. I've heard you say over and over again, this is happening because we become lazy, decadent slobs. I work some days 18 hours a day, but I'll be honest. Compared to my dad or somebody like his dad who grew up on farms, they enjoy working. They can fix anything. My dad, I call him at 3 in the morning and he'll come help me. And I worry because, I'm a shadow of my dad. He's a shadow of his dad. I'm not teaching my kids to work that hard. Like I think we really are degenerating. And I'm not romanticizing old timers. I just know that people used to be closer to the ground, more street smart, and harder working, more independent, and not as decadent. And there is a feedback loop of decadence now that's almost impossible to escape.
Well, I know exactly what you're talking about. I would agree with you to a great deal. but also look for the positive things, because if I look at the young people that come out for my rallies, I see young people who are very dedicated, they're very principled, they're idealistic, and they're not decadent when it comes to computers and the internet. They're pretty darn smart. And I don't know the technology, but I know how valuable it is, and I'm able to use it and get other people to help me. So in that sense, I become the optimist, because technology so far in most of all of history has always been used to enhance the power of the state and to kill people, you know.
Yes, sir.
This is one time, if we're smart enough, that we ought to be able to use this technology and spread information. I mean, you do it all the time. You know about the technology. We're spreading this message. So I get to be optimistic that all we have to do is continue this. And that is why in my farewell speech, the most dangerous trend that we have to stop is the threat to our civil liberties, our ability to resist. You know, what are these people, how many people are going to be arrested, you know, and put in secret prisons, and how often are we going to be able to maintain our First Amendment rights and our Second Amendment rights? That is the protection of civil liberties that's most important. But the best way to do is awaken a generation, and we have the tool, and it's the internet, and we have a very responsive young group, and what happens to the establishments, they beat this out of us. They do it with every generation to make you feel like you're a bad guy because you think freedom is good. Now, our job, and we have these tools, is to make sure that this whole new generation knows that freedom, their instincts are right. We're all natural believers in liberty. We're all libertarian in the sense that we want to be left alone, but it's beaten out of us by our system, the movies, the schools, the government, all of these things. So I see a tremendous opportunity, and I hope I'm not totally deceiving myself, but I'll keep working with the assumption that we can change people's minds.
Yes, sir. And to be clear, I was speaking in generalities like you did in your powerful farewell address from Congress that's gone so viral out there, thank God, thanks to drudgereport.com and other big sites that posted it, millions and millions of views just on the internet alone, that obviously there are the liberty-loving people who are a growing minority. But it's pretty much the wheat from the chaff. People are either getting totally mind-blown and accepting any level of corruption, or they're getting more and more active. And we have to take heart, as you've said, 5% started and won the Revolutionary War. Well, we're trying to win an info war. We've got more like 25, 30% now that are awake. All we've got to do is wake up others, and then we're going to take the country back. And so there's a race by the authoritarians to take over, but that there's good factions, and people need to know that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And the thing that's on our side is not only has our message grown in popularity and we've been able to spread it, but the opportunity is the absolute failure of their system. Communism, you don't hear people come out and say, you know, I'm a communist, I think the communism is going to take over the world. Communism failed. It fell apart. The Soviet system doesn't exist. But Keynesianism, the planned economy, welfareism, inflationism, it's failing.
It's failed over and over again, and they keep saying capitalism has failed. No, crony.
Well, that's a big challenge. We have to make sure that we don't get blamed. It isn't capitalism that failed. They haven't ever really even tried total free markets, and that's what we should force on them.
I agree with you. Moving quickly, there are other points. Campaignforliberty.org. I've been told, you know, a little bit here, a little bit there from different folks. You've got 3 big things that are going to be announced soon. A, can you give us any sneak peek? And B, when will this announcement come, Ron Paul?
Well, there are a lot of things I've been talking about and planning for. They're not quite ready, but there's a possibility I'll be able to do some type of programming, you know, on the internet, not on regular TV. And if that works out, you know, I think we can get a big audience for what we're doing. I'm going to be very interested in promoting homeschooling because I talk about education all the time, and I think the public school system is failing. And, you know, it isn't the rich people that are taking their kids, you know, doing the homeschooling, but I think average people and even poor people can salvage their children from the system by homeschooling. And I'm also going to be touring the colleges. Soon I will be starting that, so I'll continue to do that. So I have a lot of things that I can do, but they're not all firm yet.
That's right, but I mean, I heard about a Ron Paul theatrical release, Ron Paul TV, and something else I heard is being planned.
What is that?
Well, I want to make sure, you know, little birds tell me this and that, but I keep my ear to the ground. All I know is very exciting. And I'm not taking this moment to bash Glenn Beck. I've tried to be nice to him, but he says he's now the leader of the libertarian movement.
Yes, I saw that. I'll have to check him out. I want to know what he believes in.
Yeah, because he told me that your supporters 4 years ago were going to blow us up with bombs and that we did Oklahoma City. And then he keeps, you know, saying that we shouldn't get in the government's face. I mean, my only deal with Glenn Beck is he says I'm dangerous and basically shouldn't be on the air. Piers Morgan basically says that as well. And then now he tells me that he's my leader. And then he's now going to become Ron Paul and Alex Jones, I guess, mixed. Do you have any comments on that?
Not too much, because I don't know exactly what he's talking about. All I can do is speak for myself on what I believe in and what I'm trying to do. And I've been pretty much upfront on, you know, what the principles are and in which direction we should go and effort. I think I do one thing differently than others, and that is I try to stick to, you know, ideas rather than personalities. And, of course, we've already mentioned the president, and I mentioned George Bush. But over the years, I basically don't attack the individuals. I don't generally attack Bernanke.
Sure, but you did call him a demagogue when he said that your supporters wanted to blow up buildings.
Yeah, that's for sure. But generally speaking, I don't do the personality thing. That doesn't mean that. Matter of fact, if you do the personality thing, you get a lot more attention. But I don't want it to distract. If people want, they'll try to entice me to say, "What should we do with Bernanke? How should we punish him?" Remember what our governor said that we should do with him. I might agree with it, and I might even say things along that way. But most of the time, I'll go and say, "It's the system. It's the system of the Federal Reserve."
No. I agree.
And that is what I want to concentrate. Some people will concentrate on different things. They'll have different tactics and different viewpoints, and I think that's fine.
No. Listen, I think Glenn Beck does a lot of great work and has gotten better and better. He is just systematically. I don't infight. You'll never hear my show talking about other people that are in the liberty movement. He just routinely says he said I made up the 1.6 billion bullets, even though that's AP Reuters direct federal purchases. You know, I'm making up the police state. I'm making up NSA spying. Your supporters want to blow buildings up. I mean, he is trying to gatekeep, and I'm just warning you that that unless you join with Sauron, Dr. Paul, he's gonna stab you in the back. And I'm only saying that like kind of like a chart when you're coming into a bay in a boat. I'm just marking the chart, Dr. Paul. But you're a smart guy, you know that. We've only got about 6-7 minutes left. In closing, Sandy Hook and now the Feinstein bill and others to make us physically turn them in, not just go back and re-register with the ATF at their pleasure. Now they want to just open where they decide, law-abiding citizens turning their guns in. What is your take on that? And are you concerned about a purge or persecution of gun owners?
Well, I'm concerned about their inconsistency. They want to get rid of guns because somebody used a gun and did some violence. But we all know that more people are getting killed with hammers and fists and knives. So they're not very consistent. They see an opportunity. They want to get rid of the guns. Some people believe they're dangerous and want to get rid of them, and other people want to get rid of them because they know that guns can resist the government tyranny, and some people like the idea that governments become tyrants and they should run things. As long as the government kills children, it's okay, so they want to protect that. You know, all that scandal and outcry, which much of it was justified, seeing kids getting killed, as a horror. But at the same time, how about those people who are saying, okay, this is an excuse to take away the rights of people who use guns to defend their family? How many of them are shouting and screaming about the children that our drones are killing on a daily basis because they're Muslim kids in different color and they're overseas and nobody has to line them up and shoot them? We can do it by directing drones from this country. That doesn't even count. So that's what their whole goal is to distract us from from some of the horrors that governments perpetuate and the way they destroy our liberties, and they perpetuate the violence. I mean, compared to the violence that governments have perpetuated on the people versus what the people do to each other, there's no contest. Historically, government's the #1 killer, as you know. University studies out of Hawaii and others, 292 million people killed in the 20th century, non-military combatants. We have a red alert, sir, that just came out while you were on with us. DrudgeReport.com, Weekly Standard, AP, you name it. Obama White House threatens executive action to physically confiscate the firearms. Biden has now given a speech, sir. They've got a bunch of state reps and federal reps. I've literally got over 10 articles. They're all calling for executive orders. And Obama is saying now that he will do everything in his power, including executive orders. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what we feared. Congressman, constitutionally, that's beyond a constitutional crisis. As a constitutional expert, sir, if he signs an order ordering we turn in our guns, what does that mean? Well, it should go without saying that he's gone way too far. It also should go without saying that he's acting with the use of illegal violence, and he becomes the violent person to say that if you don't, and this is not new. He's been doing this, you know, environmental regulation. If Congress moves too slowly, well, I'll write an executive order. But he didn't invent the executive order and the signing orders. You know, I'll ignore this. It's a bipartisan thing. But it's accelerating and getting dictatorial. Then that's how our military's. Yeah, it's been. What do we do if Obama orders us to turn our guns in? Doesn't that make him a dictator if he just says, I'll do whatever I want? Well, it's certainly a dictatorial move on that. If the American people had been a little bit better versed, maybe they wouldn't have reelected him. So I do not say that he is a dictator like some of the 20th century dictators that killed 290 million people. But these are dictatorial moves. They're very, very dangerous. And people say to me, why are you worried about, you know, the military arresting American citizens, National Defense Authorization Act? Because only 1 or 2 people were involved. Yeah, but the principle is 100% when you establish a principle. So what he's doing is perpetuating a principle of putting more power into the presidency, and it's very, very dangerous. Setting the precedent under NDAA. We're almost out of time, sir. Will you turn in your semi-autos? Well, I might not even have anything to turn in for that purpose, but I don't think the American people will. I've always assumed that the line in the sand may well be drawn. If the federal agent marches in unannounced and they say, well, give me your gun and give me your gold, I don't think we'll do that, you know, calmly. I think the American people will highly resent it and resist. So you think I was right then telling Piers Morgan if they try to confiscate the guns, it will start 1776 Part 2? Well, I don't know whether I put them in the same words, but I think I said something very similar to what you're saying. Well, God bless you, sir. I hope we can get you back again in a month. Very good. What are any other websites that are important to plug? Just campaignforliberty.org? Do that, and then we'll be listing some new things there because we're making some other web page. I'm going to have a home page. Unfortunately, I didn't have ronpaul.com, so I'm going to have Ron Paul's homepage.com. That'll be coming up, but it's not ready yet. All right, big announcements coming soon. We'll talk to you and say hi to the family. God bless you, sir. Thank you. Great to talk to that man during this dark time. I told you executive orders were coming. They're getting us ready to see if we'll take it. Ladies and gentlemen, this could be it. Ladies and gentlemen, if you just joined us, former Congressman Ron Paul was on the transmission. And while he was on, the news broke in the Weekly Standard and other publications that Joe Biden has set executive orders. They're set to use executive orders to ban our guns and make us turn them in. They've got 11 different bills turned in to do background checks and huge federal taxes to buy ammo, try to make you register ammo you already have. I mean, this is it. And they're probably going to stage some more shootings. This has all the looks. The last two, Colorado and Sandy Hook, being partially or all staged. And I told you they were on drugs. That's all coming out. And it's all weird government funding and bizarreness at every level. So we're in a lot of trouble. And a lot of people are going to cower to the system and go along with it. That's why it's such a dangerous sign that Glenn Beck, who normally wouldn't even give attention here on air, because I don't want to be in rivalries with people. I mean, I was watching last night because I was sent the clip with him and his sidekicks, and they were just literally looked scared and freaked out and said I'm spooky and scary and
look completely freaked out that I'm getting news attention because they're egomaniac narcissists. Okay, I don't go, oh, great, I'm on TV. Oh, I'm in thousands of newspapers. It's like, oh, man, great. Now I've really got to watch what I say. I mean, this is about defeating the globalist. That's what I want. I mean, I wouldn't be up here putting it all on the line, calling for Second American Revolution peacefully before it gets violent. I said that because I can see they're going to make their move. We got to get real aggressive or we're going to lose it. But, oh, Piers Morgan and Beck are like, don't be aggressive. Sit down and shut up. They always tell constitutionalists, libertarians, quote, conservatives that. And later, Jakari Jackson's going to pop in at the bottom of the next hour because he's in there. It's like hours of this Glenn Beck stuff. We're going to try to condense it down to a few minutes. I'm a liar. I sit on a pile of lies. I'm a fascist. I'm spooky. I'm scary. I'm fat. I lie to my listeners. You know, there's no 1.6 billion bullets. And then with lawyers, at the end of it, you can tell lawyers told him this. He says, now, none of this may be true. This is just my opinion. You better look it up yourself. Acting like go look it up and find out it's true, knowing most people won't look it up. And, I mean, he's on a lot of the same radio stations as me. I mean, and he's saying, don't believe Alex. Don't listen to him. You know, this man shouldn't be popular. Same thing Piers Morgan's saying. Because you guys are establishment, okay? And, you know, I pray to God that I don't have a bad temper. I pray to God that I can tell the truth and be accurate. I'm not perfect, but you know what? I don't like people saying I'm a liar on purpose and that I'm a bad person and that I want a violent revolution. If we don't say, hey, don't try it and get the word out and say a takeover is illegitimate, there's going to be one. Ron Paul, a senior statesman, historian, economist, just said there will be a revolution if they come for the guns. It's a fact. You think I like being at the very front of the line on that? Man, I live in the real world, folks. I go into the arena. And I wish more of you would have actually ever been in it yourselves. I had a guy call me last week and go, oh, you've never served the military, so I don't trust you. What does that even mean? I have served in the front lines of the battle for this republic for 17 years. I have been threatened and physically attacked and crawled through hell and psychological warfare attacks and dirty tricks and everything you can. My family threatened, not because I'm a hero, because I've got to defeat these people. And they know I am getting out to tens of millions a week and we're growing. They can see our exponential growth. And this is the time they'll come after us. And they demonize you first before they go after you. All these years, Alex Jones doesn't exist. Who's that? All of them say that. Now, he has a huge audience, tens of millions. Look out, he's bad. Get him. And, I mean, it really hurt me with Glenn Beck and his weird little yuppie, effeminate host, how it's all calculated and snake-like to deceive the audience while telling them that I'm trying to deceive my audience. Before God, I never try to deceive you. Doesn't mean I'm not imperfect and make mistakes sometimes. Before God, I'm real. And before God, I know Glenn Beck is a serpent. My gut and his actions, his fruits, he is a demon. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in a maximum red level alert. It's all happening. Just like Sarah Brady promised, she said he's going to get the guns in the second term. Don't worry. Just like he told Rahm Emanuel in the first campaign 4 years ago, stop saying we're going to ban their guns. It even happened in a press conference. The press meeting, he said, shut up. We'll get these people in our own time, these bitter clingers. He went to San Francisco and he said, we'll get their guns. We got to get in first. And I'm supposed to sit there with known liars like Piers Morgan going, I don't want your guns, I just want to ban them. There were no riots in England. There's no crime increases. We took the guns. Total red alert. Look at drudgereport.com. And we've got our stories where we're being death threatened up at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com if you just joined us. High noon, Sheriff Biden and NRA showdown. He's there telling the NRA, created by the federal government at the end of the Civil War, to go ahead and get in line like they did in 63 and 68. And don't think they won't betray us. You better call the NRA, folks. We got Larry Pratt coming up. The bottom of the hour. This is an emergency situation. Bang, bang. Cuomo to announce sweeping gun laws, including bans. Iowa lawmaker calls for confiscation of guns, period. Connecticut lawmaker calls for background checks to buy ammo. Members of Congress have introduced a legislation to do that. Gun sales soar in Atlanta. And then look at that. That is proper reporting. Hitler and Stalin. White House threatens executive orders on guns. And we have the video of Biden talking about that we're going to go to in a moment. But Vice President Joe Biden revealed that President Barack Obama might use an executive order to deal with guns. This is all going up at Infowars.com right now. But it's all up now at drudgereport.com. Get it? Go there, get these links, and say, see, we told you so. I told you in the December issue, came out 3 weeks before Sandy Hook, came out in late November. I said they're going to sign executive orders. There's going to be mass shootings. And, folks, they're going to be false flags. I believe these are false flags. They have all the earmarks. We know Oklahoma City was. You know, they go, you say the government did Oklahoma City. Criminal elements. They did Fast and Furious to blame the Second Amendment. That even came out in CBS News. They did it to blame the Second Amendment. And as Larry Pratt has said, if they'd stage Fast and Furious, they'd stage Aurora. The president is going to act, said Biden, giving some comments to the press before a meeting with victims of gun violence. There are executive orders. There are executive action that can be taken. Yeah, it's called dictatorship, as Ron Paul said. That's a dictatorial move. We haven't decided what this is yet, but we're compiling it with the help of the Attorney General and the rest of the cabinet members, as well as legislative action that we believe is required. It's critically important we act. The president is going to act. The president has said we're going to react. And they're going to go get this rubber stamp with it says the Attorney General and the task force. As the president said, we have got Holder scheduled for a meeting that's currently taking place in the White House. And they're going to wait till he gets inaugurated. You watch, and they're going to drop a hammer on us. They're going to say, all right, if you get a letter from the ATF, because they already do this to veterans, we already know what they're going to do. You got to come into the ATF for an evaluation. They're going to make you do a psychological evaluation. It's total fraud. They're going to make you see a government psychiatrist. It's going to cost tens of millions of dollars. They're going to do it. And they're going to take your guns. And they're going to pick people that look kooky and act weird, but who are law-abiding to kill and say, well, they deserve it. They fired on the SWAT team. And they're going to attack police stations and blame us. I mean, these are guys that wrote memos during the last 4 years saying we need staged terror attacks to blame on libertarians, conservatives, and constitutionalists. And Glenn Beck, even to his credit, before he left Fox, said, here's all their quotes about how they're going to stage terror attacks. And he said, blame me, i.e. Glenn Beck. No, they said they were going to blame anti-New World Order people. I mean, they're saying they were going to do this and blame us, okay? And a lot of folks are going to decide to cower to this. If you cower, they fully take over. I mean, believe me, it's not fun to get up here and be in these people's faces. It's not fun, but it's got to be done. They're going for broke. Now, lots of threatening things got said to me while I was at CNN, lots of little cryptic things, and I didn't say all that on air because people wouldn't believe it. I told you that yesterday. I said, I'm holding back. I told you, and I shot a video that night, and I left New York to go to New Jersey, where I was taking off in Newark, and got like 2 hours sleep as I got to New Jersey. Because we had plainclothes police in the hotel following us around. We turned down a street and a guy would step out. You know, obvious police. I saw guns under their deal. They were like, oh, where you going? How you doing? I mean, this was bad. Waiting for us at CNN. Waiting when we came out. I mean, super creepville, like they were on a rabbit hunt or something. And I, you know, lived to fight another day, got out of there. Got out of Bloomberg's crime syndicate operation. Since then, they're making cryptic comments about my family and my children being killed on Piers Morgan. And I thought, okay, honey, that's not a veiled threat. Let's wait and see. But it was said creepily with a lot of relish and re-aired again on CNN. And then they had the writer for the Daily Beast, and it was clearly scripted, say, we need to have you kill Alex the next time you see him with a semi-auto you buy legally. As if buying legally is what did it. And then the daughter of Huntsman, top globalist minion, says, ooh, yeah, Piers, I want to see you do it in a uniform, baby. And Piers is like, I'll wear my brother's uniform, because he's in the military, reportedly. Like, it's okay. Like, the message is, the uniform's going to kill you. We're going to play that clip. FPS Russian founder, tied to a chair, killed execution-style gun manufacturing company owner. The TV show was a side thing they did. That's why they were level 4, level 5. That's how they got cannons and stuff for that show. Dead. Killed execution-style. Nothing stolen. No guns, no money at his factory. #1 gun show in the world. 3 shows canceled off Discovery. I'm talking to some of the folks soon involved with the shows about what happened behind the scenes. It's a purge, folks. They can't beat our gun culture. They're going to try to kill it. And right now it's going, well, Doug Hagman said, his federal source said, they are planning, if Larry Pratt gets run over, if Wayne LaPierre gets shot, if I get pulled over and they say I pull a gun on a cop, folks, I normally occasionally carry firearms. I have decided to make the announcement that I'm not going to carry firearms for the time being so that it's on record that I do not have firearms so they can't set me up. If they strike me down, that's God's will. It's in God's hands. You're like, well, Alex, I thought you're all about defense and 70-76 peacefully, but defend yourself. Yeah, but I've prayed about it, and it's important that I say I'm planning no offensive actions. And you know, if they try to set me up or try to bury a pipe bomb on my property, as the ATF's done to a lot of people, obviously, you know, if they come to my house or shoot me or something, I'm not, you know, if the ATF comes and busts in, I'm not going to pick up a gun. And they may be coming to kill me because that's the message they're sending. That's what mafias do. They killed thousands of Mexicans, hundreds of U.S. citizens, 5 police officers. So pray for us. But if they kill me, I was murdered. Okay, if they kill me, I was murdered. And I've told you the last few months, even before this happened, I said something big's about to happen. I can see the writing on the wall. So pray for us, ladies and gentlemen. And again, I've always had really bad cedar allergy. It's gotten really bad, so I've had, like, not a chest cold, but when I went to New York, I can barely breathe. When I came back, I can barely breathe. And stuff like Benadryl doesn't work. I'm going to have to go to the doctor soon. That's why I've sounded even more, you know, Clint Eastwood style with the voice, because it's just completely shot. And I really need to rest as well. I am overwhelmed. I'm not in fear. I just love God. And I'm sad for America. I'm sad for my family. I'm sad that it's come to this. I know I'm right about what I'm saying. And Piers Morgan, Glenn Beck, the entire media are saying I shouldn't be on the air and I'm dangerous and I want violence, and none of that's true. And are saying I'm a liar and that I want to deceive people. And all I ever wanted was freedom. Nothing more. All I ever wanted was decency and honor. Yes, I have a temper about bullies. It's a hot button. Bullies really get me upset. And it's probably because I got beat up, no exaggeration, probably 50-something times by bullies before I learned to fight back. And now it's just instinctive. I get really upset. And that's why I blow up. Is because I'm not good at running. And I knew these were police in New York, and I had to swallow my pride because a few times I almost got in their faces, and I thought, no, that's what they want. So I got out of there. But I never wanted to be the real leader of the liberty movement. Ron Paul is more of a statesman, but he's 76, 77 now. What is he, 76? Look up his age. And unfortunately, for all intents and purposes, I am the leader. Because other people like Ted Nugent and others, they don't get the whole picture. Rand Paul is such a statesman, you know, that he's just not really leading right now. He should be all over the place, climbing the walls, trying to defend the Second Amendment right now, like Ron Paul's doing. And I'm not criticizing him. It's just now is the time to act. Ron Paul's 77. Just had his birthday. That's right, a few months ago. Media-wise, Matt Drudge is the leader when it comes to getting the word out. For whatever reasons, as a focal point, what I've called for, they know that I've got the biggest audience. And I am in grave danger. And the weird thing is, it doesn't scare me. It's more like crossing a river. It's actually peaceful in a way, but very saddening that we are in the hands of criminals. Real criminals, hardcore tyrants. And if we don't come out and say they're trying to become dictators, it's over. We either back them down or it's over. Let's go to this clip here, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go ahead and go to a clip of Biden saying they're going to use executive orders. Here it is.
If the president is going to act or executive orders, executive action that can be taken, we haven't decided what that is yet, but we're compiling it all with help of the Attorney General and all the rest of the cabinet members, as well as legislative action we believe is required. So I appreciate you very much being here.
Oh, he appreciates the media very much being there. We're going to go to break and come back with one more segment, and Larry Pratt's joining us. He'll be on Piers Morgan Tonight battling. Pray for him. And again, I just pray that God makes me strong no matter what the course is. Not strong to face this. That's easy for me to do. I ask God to give me the intellect and the strength to communicate the message to the people to turn the tide. Please, God, I'm weak. I hope people will pray to give me strength. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I come off like a maniac a lot of times, and it's because I get hyped up about this. I mean, I know I'm right about it. As more and more stuff comes true, I'm just completely freaked out at my core. And I'm flailing around trying to get people to wake up and get out of their coma. And you know what? It isn't pretty sometimes, but it's effective. And that's why the enemy's pulling out the stops against us. And if they kill, if any more gun, because it's not just FPS Russian, there's been some other deaths of prominent gun manufacturers. That's why other gun manufacturers are like, you know, we're getting out of the business. You know, you said they're meeting with the NRA today telling them there's going to be an executive order. You get in line. Don't you thugs get it? You could get 99% of gun owners to turn their guns in. The 1% is 1.5 million people. It's a guaranteed civil war, as Ron Paul said. That doesn't mean I want one. I'm the last person that wants one. But Glenn Beck and CNN take out of context what I've said and say that I want a violent revolution. And that's a head of a setup. So if I get killed, I want investigations, and I will never commit suicide. But again, he who's in us is greater than he who is in the world. And I need your prayers, folks. I believe in it. I know it's real. People say, well, you're not a goody two-shoes Christian. Well, you play rock and roll sometimes. It's not about that. I love God. My heart loves God. I know I'm like dirty rags to God. But God knows I love innocence and beauty and decency. Okay? And that's what matters. And that's why they always attack those of us that have good hearts and say we're not for real, because they're not for real. Now, here's the clip. Which clip do we have first? The guy going, he hopes my kids don't get killed on CNN? Yeah. Let's go to the Daily Beast guy with Piers Morgan when they agree that I need to be shot by Piers Morgan, but they'll dress him up in a uniform so it's okay. And then Piers goes, yeah, I'll wear my brother's uniform. Now people say it's a joke. If I said kill... K-I double hockey sticks, anybody with a gun, I would be arrested. And by the way, I should be. I mean, if I said, you break in my house, I'm going to kill you, that's legal and lawful to say. You know, I've said, Piers Morgan, anybody, you know, tries to lay a hand on me, I'll defend myself. That's different. They are fantasizing. And I've been around these authoritarians that call themselves leftists. How many times have I told you? I've been around them. They'll come up to me when I've been at countless Democratic events covering them, and they'll say, you know, one day we're going to kill you. I'm like, I thought you're a liberal. They're like, yeah, you know we're not. I mean, these people are demons, okay? I don't know how else to explain it to you, and they can't control themselves. If you're a radio listener, you got to see this pig, this guy on the show, who is the writer, Buzz Bissinger, this darling of the left. And I mean, when he talks about killing me, he looks like he's about to have an orgasm. I'm serious. I mean, these people are sick. And that's why we have our guns, Bissinger. You understand that? Let's go ahead and go to the clip. Here it is.
Yeah, but what do you need a semi-automatic weapon for? The only reason I think you need it is, Piers, challenge Alex Jones to a boxing match, show up with a semi-automatic that you got legally, and pop him.
I'd love to see that. In uniform.
I'll borrow my brother's uniform.
I don't think more guns are the answer here. I mean, there are a lot
of... That's it. So she goes on to say, yeah, ooh, you wear a uniform. Ooh, then it's okay. And then Piers, oh, yeah, I'll get my brother's. So they're all agreeing, yeah, let's kill Alex. And that's a message. Just like they know if they said, everybody go to this soup place, they've got the best soup in town, there'd be a line 50 feet long outside of it. And everybody advertises, if you're crazy, go kill kids at schools, nobody's there with guns to protect them, then that becomes self-fulfilling. That's what advertisement is. And they're on there saying, and it's other shows too, somebody ought to kill Alex Jones. That's what they're saying. And I had to run the gauntlet of their cops with guns, getting in our faces, the 10 blocks up there, out of there, waiting for us, all over us. I came out and said, I don't want to go out that entrance. I want to go out the main entrance. And the guy goes, with the security goes, you're going out the front. And I go, I know there's detectives out there getting in our face and stuff, and I think there's going to be a bunch of them. And he goes, you're going out. And that punk security guard, you know, guy in his suit like he was FBI, got off on it. He goes, oh, no, you're going out that door. And they were all out there waiting. You know, I didn't do the tough guy thing. What do you guys want? I just went taxi, and by the grace of God, one was right there, and we jumped in it and left. And then they were at our hotel. Okay, I don't know what they were planning. You got the clip of them talking about my kids? This was on the same show last night. Here it is.
I don't want Alex Jones to get the phone call at 3 o'clock in the morning that one of his children have been shot and killed by somebody who shouldn't have a handgun or a rifle or a automatic weapon. I don't want him to get that phone call.
No,
that is
the whole point, and you articulate that.
Those eyes kind of sparkled a little bit when it got to that part. I'm not stupid, okay? And you know what? You know what I'm going to do? I got my course plotted. I'm going to accelerate speed. And I'm going to politically ram you. I'm committed. Everything, my entire being. Don't you know doing this only gives me the power to stand up against you? A full commitment. We'll be right back. Obama's set to ban guns. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now the top story at Infowars.com and DrudgeReport.com. With the video, we played it earlier, White House threatens executive orders on guns. I told you that was coming. Larry Pratt, Executive Director of Gun Owners of America, told you that. There have been a lot of tweets sent out calling for my death, calling for Larry Pratt's death, calling for Wayne LaPierre's death at NRA. They say we killed the children. They say it's our fault. I guess we killed the people that died or been injured in that big ferry crash. We got to ban ferries now. Bad things happen. There's 7.5 billion people in the world, or close to it. 315 million here. They wave the bloody shirt of 20 poor dead children we pray for, their families, and then tell us we did it, when they're the ones that made them victim disarmament zones. And I told you, they're going to use an executive order. The ATF last year started telling gun shops what to do outside law, and they told them, hey, don't argue. When he's reelected, we'll do whatever we want. I talked to multiple gun show people in Tennessee, in Arizona, in California, and Austin. We broke that they were being given memos, and they said, well, there's no law. This law didn't pass. And they said, well, you do what we say or we're going to shut you down. We found an I that wasn't dotted, literally. And now when you go in to do your background, it's all put in a computer. It all when you call the feds, it's all computerized. You're already registered. They're now saying they're going to physically take the semi-autos. Like Dianne Feinstein said, Mr. and Mrs. America, get ready to turn your guns in. That's a quote. And then Piers Morgan says, I don't want your guns. I just want you to turn all these in. And then I get angry at him. And then he says, I'm dangerous and shouldn't have guns when I have no criminal record. And then the next night, last night, and the man we're about to talk to is scheduled to be on there tonight, Larry Pratt, Piers Morgan doesn't have a big audience, but when it's a gun debate, it goes in all the other news and tens of millions, probably 100 million. I mean, this is the biggest story in the last 2 days, is what I did with Piers Morgan. And that wasn't my full plan, but it was part of it. If he pulled bull, I was going to get in his face, because all he ever does is bully people. So I gave him his own medicine back and put him on notice, because I realized what Ron Paul said last hour. He said the line in the sand is the guns. There will be a revolution. He agreed with me if they come to take the guns. It will happen. Folks, I don't want this to happen. I'm not planning to physically resist. I'm a media person. I'm a general. Okay? They're going to use this to purge and persecute gun owners. And it is going to be an unmitigated nightmare for police and military. Even if you try to carry it out, it's a death sentence. And that's the globalist plan. They've been preparing for this. And police are like, you're right, if this happens, it's going to be horrible. But they wouldn't dare. Yes, they will. And they're getting it ready for another executive order with the next mass shooting will happen with all their hyping. And now we have them saying, Larry, I called you this morning to get you on when you were driving into work. Have you had a chance to see the CNN clip now where the host and his two guests talk about shooting me and agree it's okay as long as they wear a uniform?
Alec, I haven't had a chance to even look at a clock. I've been so nonstop. But I'll tell you what, you were just discussing this executive order. That is something that I believe I might have even talked about on your show, because you've been nice enough to have me on so many times. But sometime well into last year, it occurred to me, these guys don't have the votes in Congress. And after the election, it was clear they didn't have the votes in Congress for the next Congress either. But Obama has shown by what he's done in other areas, such as immigration, he'll just bloody well do what he wants and issue an executive order against the law, against the Constitution. Hey, when you're socializing the country, what's a few broken laws here and there? They were only put on the books by a bunch of dead people that aren't here anymore. It's our country now, and I won it because I got elected. And so I think he believes he might have been elected king, although even the British king has far less power than what he's presuming. But I saw what they would do. If you assume the guy is lawless, then you don't have to be a prophet, and I'm not a prophet, but I could see that that would be, for him, the course of least resistance. That's where his water would flow, if you will. And he's doing it.
Well, I had Ron Paul on, and you just heard me basically paraphrase what he said. He agreed that they want a civil war. They know what they're doing. If they think they're going to get 160 million gun owners to turn their guns in, there will be a percentage that's not going to go along with it.
Well, it's very, very, very critical that if anything bad comes down, that it be very clear that it was the government initiating violence. Remember Lexington and Concord. That day's battle was started by the British because I think his name was Preston or Prescott. The captain on Lexington Green said, "Hold your fire until fired upon." And if I recall correctly, there were a couple of guys that died almost immediately following that order because the British did fire first.
Yeah, quite a few of them, but that gave them the
moral high ground.
Moral high ground.
And I think it's absolutely essential that that we hold our fire, that we even be willing to perhaps be the first one down, because we are in a war of ideas, a monster culture clash, and it's absolutely essential that we be perceived as the law-abiding ones, as the lawful ones. We need to make it understandable that there are two kinds of rebels. There's the rebel who goes out in the mountains on his own and is out there kind of like Robin Hood shooting people. And then there's the rebel that comes with a badge. If either one of them are acting outside the law, that makes them a rebel. And I know the statists of our time can't get it through their head that they could be the rebels. But the Constitution was put up to strictly limit what the federal government can do.
Well, that's profound what you said. When Lenin took over and then Stalin, they were rebels, and they even call us counter-revolutionaries. That's what Bill Ayers and Obama in his training, they know they're the rebels. That's why they operate like this and are buying 1.6 billion bullets and armored vehicles and demonizing real Americans, because they are an occupying rebel enemy force against the Republic, and you're absolutely right.
So we need to remember the Battle of Lexington. That ultimately went very poorly for the British that day because our guys insisted that the moral high ground be theirs. And that may take a lot more courage than would be needed to go and hide behind a rock and shoot, which they did later in the day. But to stand there at first, naked against the British ball that was coming down at them out of those muskets, that was real courage. But they knew why they were there. And in fact, their preacher had preached on that the Sunday before, and he was there with them because he believed as much as they did what he'd been preaching about.
I believe he died.
I don't remember that, but that's entirely possible because it was not a fun day for either side. The British ultimately lost about a quarter to a third of their entire regiment that they sent out, some 800 guys. Not that many made it back. And more importantly, we were able to get to London ahead of the British couriers and point out what had happened and who had fired first, and that it was this oppressive government that we'd been hollering about for 4 and 6 years in formal petitions, petitions of right, bills of right, all those kinds of things were going over to the British mainland, being published in their newspapers, and then it finally came to that. And so I think we have to remember that history, the history that's not being taught in our government schools.
Sure.
But our forefathers did it right, and God willing,
yes, sir,
we'll do it right.
I can't believe we're to the point that we're having to talk about 1775, 1776. I mean, this is not a joke. And I had you on a few weeks ago, and I said, from all I've seen, this will be the greatest assault ever. And you said it's shaping up to be that. Undoubtedly now, Larry Pratt of gunowners.org, this is clearly the greatest assault ever.
Certainly in my lifetime. For a while, I've been comparing it to Columbine, but I'm beginning to think that they are much bolder than they were even back in Columbine. And one of the guys here made a suggestion, which I still think could well be the case, and that is they've overreached. What Dianne Feinstein has proposed in her legislation is so far beyond what she, excuse me, got enacted in '94 that they're essentially, with a few exceptions, coming for it all. Her much vaunted statement after she'd enacted her quote-unquote limited gun ban of 1994 was, well, I just didn't have the votes. Otherwise, I'd have said, Mr. and Mrs. America, turn them all in. Well, we know what her objectives are, so we shouldn't be fooled. She's told us. And she's now indicating that she wants more. Now, I think she's getting greedy, and I think we can use that against her. And God willing, that's exactly what's going to happen. But what about
an executive order? I mean, Congress has got to start impeachment now with just Biden.
Impeachment and defunding. Without money, guarantee you, Alex, none of these Jaspers here inside the Beltway are volunteers. They're extremely well paid. I'm sure that 99% of your listeners would love to have what this 1% that works here in the government class is being paid. So this is definitely something that can be solved partially by money. If we can get around the Speaker of the House, who is like a downed tank blocking a bridge, and if somehow we can build another bridge or get him off the bridge in some way, then I think we could actually enact a spending measure that had a proviso in it. None of these funds may be used for the implementation of executive order, whatever it might be.
Well, sure, go ahead.
They're out of gas at that point.
You have always, again, been a very measured, calm person, and I'm like that in private. When I get wound up, I get very, very upset, and, did that with Piers Morgan because he's always been a bully. I was not going to let him bully me, so I just basically dominated him. But I want to play you a clip here because this is what was said last night, amongst other things. They said they hope my children don't end up dead, and then there was this. So I'm going to play it for you now. Piers Morgan and guests discuss shooting Alex Jones. Daily Beast writer Buzz Bissinger says Piers Morgan should pop Alex Jones with a semi-automatic weapon. Then Huntsman's daughter, Abby Huntsman, of the Huffington Post, says, I'd love to see that laughter in a uniform. Piers Morgan, I'd borrow my brother's uniform, who reportedly is an Army officer. So I guess if it's a uniform, it's okay. I want to play this clip and get your take on it. Here it is.
Yeah, but what do you need a semi-automatic weapon for? The only reason I think you need it is, Piers, challenge Alex Jones to a boxing match, show up with a semi-automatic that you got legally, and pop him.
I'd love to see that. In uniform.
I'll borrow my brother's uniform.
I don't think
That's
guns
enough.
are more guns.
I'll borrow my brother's uniform. And then there was talk of, I hope my children don't get killed. I mean, and this is entering a whole nother level of Creepville.
What they did there is reveal the heart of the leftist. The leftist is about force. They're about imposing their righteousness on us schlubs that don't know what's good for us. And it's such a delightful topic to talk about, offing some loudmouth like Alex Jones. That'll teach those bumpkins a thing or two, won't it?
I guess it will. My children were there watching when their deaths were being discussed. I mean, they're clearly trying to terrorize the entire American people with these shootings. While they're horrible, statistically, it's one of the rarest forms of death.
Right. Along with our general murder rate, which is declining. And I was just looking at something, happily, my son Eric pulled something up that's quite good. There's an underreporting of murder data in England, which is always held up as the country that's so wonderful compared to ours. British crime, I'm quoting from the finding, reporting tactics keep murder rates artificially low. And then this is a quote from a report from the Inspectorate of Constabulary. Suppose that 3 men kill a woman during an argument outside a bar. They are arrested for murder, but because of problems with identification, quote, or the main witness is dead, charges are eventually dropped. In American crime statistics, the event counts as a 3-person homicide, but in British statistics, it counts as nothing at all. And then the report is quoted directly here. With such differences, this is British, 2000, with such differences in reporting criteria, comparisons of U.S. homicide rates with British homicide rates is a sham. That's the British cop group, the Inspectorate of Constabulary.
Wow, can I have that headline? Because I've got the Telegraph and others admitting that they're the crime capital of Europe. Switzerland has the lowest crime rate in the world because, of course, they have more guns. But you can just type in Britain or England, the crime capital of Europe. People are beat, stabbed, you name it. But, yeah, I read all the time where if you fist fight someone raping your wife that busts in your house, they throw the book at you. You know, the farmer who'd been robbed 3 times defending himself, and they threw him in prison. I mean,
they probably give some condoms to the guy that was raping your wife and tell him to clean up his act.
Amazing. I know. I mean, but see, that's on purpose. They want... That's a criminal government with trying to team up with the criminals. Why do they love crime-ridden cities run by mafias?
Well, because we're then terrorized, and we must depend all the more for our, quote, protection on the very authorities that have put us into that predicament to begin with. And I don't know whether they're accepting it in England, although it is, as the Telegraph said 2 days after that Piers Morgan interview, it is the 4th most violent country in the world. Violent crime, which would include murder, but also rape and everything else that's
and that's with watered-down numbers, because I've seen those numbers before that they just let murder... I mean, they don't even investigate when they come to your house and you and your wife are chopped up. I mean, it's just like you could have the neighbor running around with a hand in their hand of a chopped-off person. They just say, oh, no big deal.
Right. They do not believe in self-defense. That farmer was infamous that up in the little town of Norfolk in England, had, after the 3rd home invasion by the same gypsy gang members that had been terrorizing the whole area, he shot one of them in the dark of night who was coming up the stairs, actually shot both of them and killed one of them. And for that, they gave him a life sentence, which now he's out of jail because, happily, British public opinion finally focused on that outrage.
And see, that's what scares me, is that I'm still a young man, 38, but I've got aches and pains and things and, problems now from a life of action. I can't imagine once I get old and all I can depend on is the gun. I mean, if 2 guys are coming up my stairs, I'm going to get so angry. Even if they're pretty tough, I can probably deal with them. But not when I'm 65, 70. I need that firearm. And more now, I mean, as I get older, more and more I try to avoid physical stuff. It's just natural. We need to equalize things for the infirm, the old, the women, handicapped. I mean, the real liberal thing to do is to arm women.
Exactly. Exactly. And to make it so that unarmed children can be protected by their teachers, the janitors, whatever, in schools, rather than insist for now 20 years that if we just say no guns at schools, everything will be fine. Well, everything is not fine. That's where most of our, in fact, that's where all of our mass murders have occurred, in whatever kind of gun.
I hope you can get that out tonight with Piers Morgan. 5 more minutes with our guest on the other side, gunowners.org. It's Larry Pratt. Yeah, the Daily Beast of Newsweek is making jokes about their writers saying I need to be shot and killed, and Piers Morgan agreeing. Just amazing. But you can see the full video at Infowars.com. Also, DrudgeReport.com has it. Larry Pratt is scheduled to be on there tonight. Larry, I mean, how big a deal is this? I don't feel like I'm putting the words into it properly. How big of a deal is it with Biden saying, don't worry, there'll be executive orders, and we're going to take the recommendation of Attorney General Eric Holder, who's the Fast and Furious architect? I mean, we need to bring that up.
When he earlier had said, even before he made it clear that they would go executive order, but 2, 3, 4 days ago, sometime last week maybe, he was saying to some anti-gun group, we're going to have gun control by the end of January. Well, wait a minute. The Congress couldn't even vote to adjourn for an ice cream social that fast. I mean, it's just, come on, it's not going to happen. Then that just reinforces what you and I have been talking about. Clearly, they're going to go executive order against us. And so what Biden is up to is setting the stage for this very act of lawlessness, and for them to talk about offing you. And I've just found that on your page, and it's great that you've got it there. I think people ought to go to your Infowars.com. This is what needs to be, this needs to go viral. People need to see that the left, it's sort of like Che Guevara, the Cuban executioner for Fidel Castro. He was literally the chief executioner, and he would have people executed even during breakfast time. Well, he wanted to see that, so he had a wall cut out of his office onto the paredón, onto the shooting wall, so that he could see the executions of the men, women, and children taking place. And he would have his breakfast, you know, while all of this blood was flowing from those horrible people. That's the tone that I get. What you were being subjected to was the ta-ta. Che Guevara had it right, you know.
You know, I also pulled up the quotes. He even wrote papers that are public. He actually, it's not propaganda. He called Mexicans subhumans. He called poor Indians subhumans. He called them trash. He said, quotes, who cares how many brown people die? And then I see Hispanics wearing his shirt everywhere, and he said they were animals. I mean, people just have no idea that these communists are a bunch of elitists that like to kill people.
And typically are the biggest racists in history. It's the statists who like to pick on a target population, a minority population. And, of course, in our country, that would be black or Mexican or somebody like that. It's not the right that is out making fun of or even threatening minority population. We're the ones that are talking about empowerment. We're the ones that are talking about, let this man be what he can be. Don't tie him down.
Larry, this is our best interview ever. Things are very serious. We've got to get Congress to make a statement, obviously, saying no executive order on the guns. Supreme Court's ruled. Knock it off. I know you'll call on that. I mean, that's basically the battle plan. Correct, sir?
Seems to be. We're in for a pretty rough ride. I think we're going to win, but this is a fight.
All hands on deck. People better be all hands on deck. In closing, gunowners.org. Go sign up, get a membership, give them money, folks. Donate to us, support us, buy our products. Go to Gun Owners, sign up for the free email alerts. Tell folks how much the membership costs.
All of $20. We'll accept more, but that'll be enough to get you our newsletter for the year.
And give the number out for folks that want to call and donate.
888-886-GUNS. That's 888-886. The letters GUNS.
All right. I will talk to you, obviously, in the next few days after the show tonight. Godspeed, Larry Pratt.
Thank you so much, Alex. Really appreciate you.
No, appreciate you. We'll be back with phone calls. Stay with us. All right, ladies and gentlemen, first-time callers on Biden saying Obama will act executively to take your guns. And it'll be some little executive order, I predict, that does a few unconstitutional things to set the precedent so people don't fight it too hard. And then there'll be another mass shooting that they stage or allow to happen or wind up. What I call a wind-up toy, get a mentally ill person, profile them, and send them out. Because instead of engaging in classic mind control, total programming, it's better just to find unstable people that you can, quote, wind up. Provocateur. And we played that video earlier. We'll be playing it again for first-time callers, again, who'd like to respond to what's been happening and how serious our straits are. It's 800-259-9231. And again, ladies and gentlemen, bear with me. I had the worst cedar fever. They call them cedars. They're really junipers. an invasive species. It's called cedar fever in Austin. About half the city has it. The longer you live here, the worse it gets. My grandmother's almost 90 and has it now. Never had it before. I think GMO helps trigger it. I try to stay away from GMO, but I'm not somebody who ever really goes to the doctor. And I know there's a bunch of different alternative healthcare serums you can take before the cedar season starts. People send me emails or comments saying, well, it's the winter. Why are you saying you have pollen problems? It's a type of horrid little evergreen that, I only say that because I'm about to have a coughing fit. I've been coughing so much my ribs hurt, you know what I'm talking about? I feel like somebody took my lungs out and beat them with a rubber mallet. But please don't call in about that. The point is, I guess if you want, you could send a show tips what's worked for you with it, but I'm about to go on the serums. Hell, I'll go to a medical doctor, allergist, and get shots of the stuff. I mean, I've got, because usually it's just a little bit of a headache and sniffles and eyes watering. This is like full on 3 weeks of feeling like that's one reason I was so mean to Piers, because I could barely breathe when I flew to New York. When I was on that airplane, it made it worse, I guess, because lower oxygen levels. Excuse me. Just have the coughing fit right here on air. I was coughing so hard last night I couldn't go to bed till about 2 in the morning, even though I hadn't had any sleep in 2 days. Anyways, pray for my little pink lungs. I'll be fine after we go to break. Toll-free number to join us, 800-259-9231, 800-259-9231. You can read all the executive order news and the death threats and calls for my death and discussions of my children dying on CNN. These are such scum. They love manipulating humanity. I just want humanity to awaken and be empowered. They want to keep you stupid so they can control you. They are the scum of the earth. Biden says Obama used executive action to restrict Second Amendment. Kids visiting Disney World to be tracked by magical RFID wristbands. Piers Morgan and guests discuss shooting Alex Jones. Alex Jones challenges Piers Morgan to a moderated debate. I'll still go on his show if he wants again. Absolutely, I'm ready. And continuing here, Sacramento Airport does about-face on kicking out TSA. We got some more bad news here from Activist Post, and it's got links to the local newspapers. We broke this story, but the Rutherford Institute got a hold of it. Every time they do that with our listeners, we never were able to get them back on again, but that's fine. Texas judge rules school can force RFID chips on students. San Antonio, Texas, and they got Department of Defense cameras watching them. If you're a new listener and think that's a joke, look it up. And they make them wear active RFIDs that track them when they leave the school and on the school buses. Total control, total prisoner training. So that ties into the whole Disney World situation. And there's just mass tyranny. I mean, they're making their move. So understand, if you just go along with the tyranny and say, well, I have nothing to hide, so what? They're going to bring taxes up to about 80%. They're going to bankrupt everybody. They want to break America. This is the total collectivization of the country. 800-25-9931. Well, Obama is set, according to Biden, to sign an executive order. They will then move towards gun confiscation. They've got more than 11 bills signed or introduced right now in Congress. Thank you for joining us. Weekly Standard is reporting that. We already played the Biden video clip earlier. We'll play it again. CNN is talking about the death of my children. They hope my children don't die, but they do want to shoot me, they said. They want Piers Morgan to kill me, and then Piers Morgan agreed that would be a good idea. If you're a new listener, and I'm not joking, the video's up at Infowars.com, DrudgeReport.com has it on the left-hand side. And by the way, you did find the Hagman clip of him 2 weeks ago, right? Good job. He was on a couple times. What was the date on that? The 27th. So, like I said, about 2 weeks ago, a little shy of 2 weeks ago, he said there's going to be a purge of gun owners. Gun leaders are going to be killed, according to his federal source. And his source is real. Believe me, I wish his source wasn't real. And he said the plan is a total takeover. And they're going to use the NDAA to do it. I'm not trying to scare people. If we don't talk about this, it's going to happen. And I've already got plainclothes cops all over my butt when I was in New York. SPF Russian, the #1 gun show in the world, 100 million viewers a month, sometimes even more. killed execution style in Georgia at his gun factory, tied up to a chair and shot in the back of the head. It isn't being investigated as a homicide assassination. A bunch of other gun people are being assassinated, run over, cars catching on fire, being shot. It's not good. It is not good. And see, I'm somebody that's had people call up who are listening to my phone lines and tell me what I was talking about to intimidate me. I've been physically attacked. I know people I've interviewed who, I got a big book coming out. It totally double proves the CIA is dealing drugs, and the guy a month later gets shot twice in the head, and the police, Gary Webb, ruled that he shot himself and blew his jaw off, and then shot himself again in the head, and they said that's quite normal. Again, I will not commit suicide, and I don't use illegal drugs, just anything happens to me, I was murdered. I want to get that straight. And just pray for me, folks. But if they do kill me, that's part of God's plan. Now, again, life's a very short thing anyways, and it's a real service to humanity to stand up against tyranny. And so I'm honored. I'm absolutely honored that I'm now the #1 enemy. I mean, we're watching MSNBC, CNN back there. I mean, every time we walk back there, we got multiple TVs on. It's Alex Jones, guns. They're all evil. Get them. They're now defending themselves, saying, oh, maybe he should be killed. I mean, it's like they're just scum. 800-259-9231, 800-259-9231. Jakari Jackson's going to be popping in for about 10 minutes to give us his take on Glenn Beck at the bottom of the hour. Glenn Beck just absolutely has always, for about 7 years, done everything he can behind the scenes and in front of the masses to sabotage me. And he was always just unbelievable what he would do. He admits to other local radio rivals in shock jock stuff back when he was, the big liberal shock jock. And he just absolutely wants me gone. He said I basically shouldn't be on the air. I'm dangerous. I'm a fascist. I'm scum. I'm a liar. That I want a violent revolution when I desperately want the opposite. And he said, I can't be trusted and I'm bad. Definitely trying, because he knows I'm getting on more and more radio stations, to inoculate his listeners and people to not listen to the show. Because we're effective, folks. And Glenn, I'm not trying to be you, bud. Okay? I'm for real. I'm not playing it safe, Jack. Okay, I never said Ron Paul was a terrorist and his supporters are terrorists and need to have the army quote used on him. Ron Paul agreed he's a demagogue in the first hour. I never got up and said there weren't FEMA camps and then put lies out. He said that they didn't buy 1.6 billion bullets. And I said, my gosh, I can't believe he's doing that. It's well known. It's national mainstream news after we broke it. And at the end, he said, now, I may be wrong about all this. Check it out for yourself. I mean, it was so manipulative to cover himself. I mean, wow. And he's there. I mean, he's got a bunch of FBI guys around him. He's totally handled, folks. Totally handled. And he said that I said he's a CIA agent. I said there's always been government influence. Glenn Beck's FBI handled. And that's even come out. And it's just, man, look, enjoy your life long after I'm gone, bro, all right? I really cared about humanity. And people that have discernment know I'm for real. And it doesn't hurt me that you're attacking that I'm a real person and saying I'm a fraud. And it's that you're lying to your good listeners who are good people. I said I'd go to your calls. It's just, I got CNN saying I need to be killed. I got them talking about my kids on air cryptically. I got so much stuff going on. And then I see this clip, and I couldn't even watch it all. And then I found out it supposedly went on for hours. Just how I'm this evil fascist. That's a quote. And how I'm Van Jones and all this stuff. And how I lie. I don't lie about 9/11. I said, we don't know exactly what happened there. We just know that the government let the hijackers in, and that's been declassified. Mainstream news, look it up. Michael Springman blew the whistle, and there were drills of the same thing happening that day. And I said it's going to be used to build Homeland Security to go after constitutionalists, because that was always the plan, and now it's happened. I saw, what's sad about this, I saw a clip, and I'll go to your calls. I saw a clip of Glenn Beck, because I don't watch his show, I'm too busy, but sometimes I see clips online. And I even meant to play it on air last week, never got around to it. Most stuff I give to him, we never even get to. And he was talking about how Obama runs al-Qaeda and they're killing people in Libya and Syria. It was back in October. And how he killed the ambassador to cover something up. And how the Turkish ambassador was there to get the missiles. And, of course, it was what we'd all broken a long time ago and put in the news. You know, we forced it out there. And then now mainstream news is covering it. And I was like, wow, he's saying the government runs al-Qaeda, the hijacked government. That's what I said 11 years ago. I mean, it's a fact, bud. And he says he's un-American. He says that the U.S. government blew up the towers. There are all sorts of parasites that get inside animals. You know, if tapeworms are in a dog's stomach, I don't go to the dog and poison it and say the dog is a tapeworm. The U.S. government is full of tapeworms, okay? Tapeworms in the government did this. I mean, can you get that? I know you get that, but you think your audience is stupid. And see, I don't think people are stupid. Let's play the clip one more time, if you just joined us, of them saying on CNN that I need to be shot, and then Piers Morgan agreeing along with Miss Huntsman. Here it is.
Yeah, but what do you need a semi-automatic weapon for? The only reason I think you need it is, Pierce, challenge Alex Jones to a boxing match, show up with a semi-automatic that you got legally, and pop him.
I'd love to see that. In uniform.
All right, that's enough.
Or my brother's uniform.
And again, I'd love to see that. Yeah, I'll wear my brother's uniform. Ha, ha, ha. Yeah, we hope your kids don't get killed, Jones. We played that clip a few times already. Hope your kids don't get killed some night. Hope your kids don't get killed some night. And then, oh, we need to shoot you. There's the daughter of the guy that helps go over to China and make sure our media doesn't cover the big slave camps. Let's go ahead and talk to Jared in Texas. You're on the air. Go ahead.
I was just curious, if certain guns are outlawed, how do you think that they'll confiscate them? Like, do you think that the government's physically going to come to people's houses that they know have these guns?
No, not in phase one. They're going, and I already knew they'd do this, but I've talked to my sources what the training is. They're going to set up gang checkpoints on the highways. It's already begun all over the country. Federally funded. Totally illegal. Martial law checkpoint. It'll be martial law slowly implemented. And then they'll say, we got a record, you got these firearms. You'll be like, huh? You know, half the time you know how many guns you bought how many years ago, you know, or who you sold to a buddy or what you traded. And then you'll be like, oh, yeah, I got some guns. Well, I thought all right, let's get you out of that vehicle and take you on in. I got you admitting you got those guns. And then they're going to serve a search warrant on your house. And then they're going to, you know, download everything on your computer, plant stuff on you, whatever. That's the new culture. I mean, all the crime labs, all the big ones have been caught framing people. And then they'll tell you, we're going to plea bargain on this. And, you know, or actually, we want you to work as a spy now on other gun owners. And that's just how it works. And it's targeting us for political persecution like Jews in Nazi Germany or free market people in Russia. I mean, this is their takeover. This is what it's going to look like. And it's a way to go after everybody. And then they'll pick, like, Mormon break-off groups they think they can demonize, or groups like the Davidians, and they're going to go out and blow up their churches, burn them down, and say, look, you're going to die if you don't turn your guns in. And so that'll be their plan. And then people will start fighting back. It's guaranteed. Ron Paul agreed in the first hour. We're not happy. We need to stop that. And then the Civil War will begin, and they're just going to say, we're going after everybody. And so that's what they're planning. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, but also, do you think that that'll be local law enforcement as far as, you know, sheriff's office?
Absolutely. They've got multi-jurisdictional SWAT team people who've been profiled and been found that they'll do whatever they're told. Some will be criminals in the force. Some are just utterly do rights to do whatever they're told. Others will do it for the paycheck. And then the rest will all be out on patrol writing tickets to little old ladies. And that's already set up. They're already doing the training nationwide. They told them be ready in the next 2 months to begin highway checkpoints. And they've already started the highway checkpoints, and they're already going through cars and taking your guns. And you know, they'll selectively, you know, well, Alex Jones has semi-autos he didn't turn in, and, you know, come SWAT team me. And, you know, say I made a wrong move. And, you know, it'll be a big bag. I mean, you know, that's what men do, is they kill American patriots. And it'll be like, man, I killed a grizzly bear. Look, I got the big patriot. Look at him. Look at him. We shot him 5 times. Look at him flop around while I'm bleeding out on the ground. That's how they work. That's how they stomp your brains out like Nazi Germany. That's how they take your wives and break their noses. And that's what they want to do. And put your kids in forced labor camps. But they're not going to get away with it. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows the great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst of it, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. Teddy Roosevelt said that in a speech in Paris, France, the 23rd of April, 1910. There's a full speech there. Type in "man in the arena." And that is where this will lead. Drones, secret arrest, torture, that's already on the books. They're training the police for it. I wanted to debate Alan Dershowitz, who says that whoever they want, they should just be able to grab and torture. And people are like, that is liberal. That is a good idea. Yeah, the government should be able to just disappear you, kill you, torture you. And people are like, man, that's liberal. Yeah, that Alex Jones, he's dangerous. We need to get his guns. Only the government needs guns so we can torture you and kill you. And, well, that's liberal. They're like, and then the next night they're like, yeah, we ought to kill Alex Jones. Yeah, it'd be really fun to kill him. They're on power trips. Let's go to Secrets of the Fed in New Jersey. Go ahead. Thanks for holding.
How you doing, Alex? Thanks for taking my call. I wanted to go into a couple solutions. People always are on here criticizing you that you don't give solutions, which... Really? I just said Congress needs to start impeachment now, or needs to say you can't sign executive orders taking guns. All I give is solutions. That's armchair quarterbacks bitching that I'm in the arena. Go ahead.
Oh, look, I agree with you. And it's funny that you just had that quote from Roosevelt. My father actually had bought that for me when I was a child, and it hung on my wall when I was growing up. But the point is that the solutions is the information. It's up to the listeners to go out and do something with it. For instance, my friends and I, we're listeners, and we decided we needed to take action. We started a Facebook page. We started a website. We've got 140,000 people on our Facebook page. We started this website 4 months ago. We've got 91,000 hits on our website yesterday. And I'm nobody. I'm just some guy.
There you go. Engage the enemy. Exactly. And I'm going to say this. If they shut me up, who's going to take my place? I don't care if they end up destroying me. I'm not happy about it, but I'm committed. I want you guys to know your leaders. Exactly. We've got to be. These are not boss hogs that just want to run things. These are killers. People are like, I know they're killers. We better bend over. No, no, no. They want to gut this country. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're absolutely right. And the point is that every piece of information is a bullet. And unless you go out there and use that bullet, the information, this is a metaphor here, but unless you go out and use that information and pass it along, it's worthless. This is the tools. Either you're going to end up spreading information now or shedding blood later. So it's up to us to go out and do that. Beyond that, when it comes to guns, the solution is very simple. I remember when I brought home my first pistol, the .357 Magnum. I showed it to my wife, and she got so scared she went and hid behind the door. Little did she know that the door wasn't going to do much to block a .357, but she was terrified of the thing. So I brought her to the range, and next thing you know, her Facebook picture is her at the range. People enjoy shooting, and the solution...
And there's 160 million of us. If we convert one more person, we win. That's why they want them now. That's why they had to advertise the schools as the places to kill people and use their Prozac heads to do it.
Yep. Next time you go to the range, bring someone who is on the fence about guns, or someone who's never shot a gun before, and I guarantee you, 99% of those people are going to be enthusiasts and ask you when.
Look how they try to convert people to communism and collectivism to get them under their control. We've got to convert them to liberty. God bless you. Great points, my friend. Let's talk to Bill in Virginia. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Hello, Alex.
Hey, brother.
How are you today?
It's all happening. I'm not too happy, actually.
It is. Listen, I listened to that broadcast the other night, and I thought you did an excellent job. And I actually listened to more of it after you got off, and the misquotes and stuff that they were doing are just amazing.
No, they said things that I never said, and they repeated them over and over again. And then they said I should have my guns taken. I'm dangerous. When the next night they said I should be killed.
They not only said that, but they said you were basically crazy, and all your listeners were too.
It's amazing. And then they said that I said Bush was responsible for 9/11, when I said criminal elements working with Al-Qaeda were. And they know that, and that's what they do. Anything else, sir?
Yeah, I want to give you an announcement that came on the radio yesterday from FEMA.
Tell you what, I've got to go to Sha'Carri Jackson, stay on hold like 10 more minutes. He's only in here for a quick report. Then I'm going to go back to you and the other callers, 800-259-9231. Yeah, we've had our phones getting FEMA override messages. They're testing everything. By the way, I had the shipping department back there with all the great products we carry at InfoWarsStore.com go, hey, Alex, you know, you're not been selling a lot of stuff the last few weeks because you don't plug anything. And I've refused all these on-air live sponsors. Most talk show hosts, you know, every segment are plugging things. That's where they're really making their money. And it's true. I say I need money to hire more reporters, make films, crews, have contests. I'm just so focused, tunnel vision, I'm not even plugging stuff. Despite that, we have 100,000 copies of these. We're down to 2,000 copies of the first issue of 2013. A little over 2,000. Weldon was telling me this morning. You can buy them in groups of 10 up to 100 at cost to give to people. Big color, glossy magazine. 2013, the year America dies, with a question mark, with the whole agenda to take your guns, executive orders to ban your guns. Very powerful. It's like a big colored booklet, like the pamphleteers, the founding fathers, to give people, to wake them up, to hand out at your dental office, to hand out at your barber shop. Whatever, you can buy 10 copies for $14, 100 copies for even less per capita. And when you get a subscription, people are like, it's $59 for 12 issues? Yeah. They don't let you send these media mail. It's like $2.40-something cents to mail each magazine. So close to half the cost is just the shipping. Then there's the handling. We sell these. Not that it's bad to make money. We sell the subscriptions, $59.95 for 12 of these, at cost. It's at our cost. Now, I do intend to get enough subscribers to make it profitable, because then I want to syndicate it and have local InfoWars magazines that are part national content, part local, because we knew tyranny was coming in. We want to get these established, these magazines in different sectors, so the fight can continue, and so these newspapers can become newsrooms of the future with physical copies that are also on the internet. As print goes out, we go in, because there'll be a vacuum there, and it's proven. So it's already very successful. I want you to get the magazines at InfoWarsStore.com. Now, speaking of profit, we don't make much of one because it's such a good deal. The best deal out there on ProPure water filters. They had completely sold out what the factory had produced. I'm the biggest distributor. I mean, I'm almost the entire operation, because we sell so many. They've got more now. And they're stainless steel. They blow away the competition, side-by-side comparisons at InfoWarsStore.com. And when you do purchase them there, you get 10% off with promo code WATER at InfoWarsStore.com, and the profit does go into our operation. When you get a PrisonPlanet.tv membership to see the nightly news, you get 10 extra memberships for the price of one. One username and passcode can be used by 11 people, you and 10 others. That's less than 59 cents per person per month. That pays for the bandwidth. PrisonPlanet.tv, InfoWarsNews.com, the true future of the internet. Okay? Pre-Glenn Beck, everything we do for over a decade, he rips off and copies. And that's why he's always been trying to keep me off Fox. I found out he'd want me on there when I came to be a guest once. He's throwing a fit. And I was told by other Fox hosts, oh, my gosh, Glenn Beck tells people he won't have him on the show, that, you know, that you shouldn't go on his show. I mean, he goes around to everybody. I even know the names of prominent people who've told me this. And if Beck ever challenges me, you know, some of them didn't even say I couldn't say it, but I still haven't, because I don't want to create a controversy. I don't sit up here, speaking of that. The point is, get a PrisonPlanet.tv membership. I don't get up here and attack Glenn Beck, except that when I have seen things like him come out and say, FEMA camps are real, I'm going to expose them. This is 3 years ago. And what that guy's always said, they don't exist, and I predicted. And I waited till a few days before so it wouldn't be me shaping their show, because I knew from insiders he had like 5 guys watching everything I do. I mean, you go to his website, it's our stories rewritten. I mean, most of them. I mean, what he charges for his online TV, what he does, the truth lives here, all of it. And then I've talked to the insiders. I've talked to multiple people over and over again about, man, Glenn Beck doesn't like you. Sponsors, everybody. I mean, Rush Limbaugh isn't out to get me. Michael Savage isn't out to get me. I mean, I wish them well. I don't agree with everything they say or do, but they're at least pro-gun and, constitutionalists at some level. I mean, I'm not, but I found out Glenn Beck would do stuff like, he admits this, like call up the other shock jock when he was a liberal talk show host 15 years ago or so and say, I'm glad your wife had a miscarriage. I read those reports. And just really nasty stuff. I mean, he's a demon. He's a demon. And the thing is, he covers a lot of good stuff. He's gotten better over the years. So every time I saw him in a video last week saying the government runs Al-Qaeda in Libya and Syria, and it's horrible. Well, I mean, yeah, we know that. We've been saying it for 2 years. But then he says, I'm a traitor because I say elements in the government run Al-Qaeda. And I have all these historians and experts on. And then I hate America, and then I'm a fascist, and just on and on and on. And the issue is, my uncle said, I don't want to hear about Glenn Beck ever again. I can't stand him. Well, he moved to Texas. He goes around all the people I get on my show that live here in Texas and talks trash about me. It's just ongoing, and I'm sick of it. And now he knows we're gaining all these affiliates as he loses affiliates. We're rising while he's falling, which he's got hundreds of millions of dollars. He'll be able to reach people on TV, but he's announced, I'm the libertarian leader. I'm the libertarian talk show host. I'm the cutting edge. I've got reporters all over the world like we do. I've got the reporters. And it's my model, which I haven't had the time or energy to even fully deploy. And I'm watching this guy who rips me off for everything, and I wouldn't care if he was a good guy, because necessity is the mother of invention. The greatest form of flattery is imitation. I wouldn't care if it wasn't so personal. And if he didn't do dirty tricks constantly and edit what I say and misconstrue and do horrible things. And if he wasn't that cynical, fake, snot-nosed type like Piers Morgan, who is into how they're smart and you're dumb and they're manipulating, and then he says, I'm doing that. Buddy, I got a good brain about how the world works, but there's not a bunch of calculation once I decide what direction I'm going. I'm more like a rhinoceros. So don't sit there and claim I'm some oily, shifty person. I make mistakes, but they're not on purpose. You say, I'm not a conservative, you're right, I'm a constitutionalist. Because the word conservative doesn't mean anything today. It means Mitt Romney? Okay, I'm not that. They say I'm so right-wing, I'm left. All this baloney, man, I'm for justice. I'm against killing kids with drones who are innocent. I'm against warrantless wiretapping. The left claimed they were all against that when they're all part of the same thing to get into power. I realize that, too. So when Bush is in, I'm called a communist. And when Obama's in, I'm called a right-winger or a fascist. And Beck said almost exactly what Piers Morgan said. I'm dangerous. It's bad I have a big audience, on and on and on. After saying I had no audience. And he said that I was lying about 1.6 million bullets. But then at the end, he went, now, I may be wrong about all this. You can see the little guy's been talking to lawyers. Better check out what I said, man. That's like, this is a work of fiction, blah, 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 blah. I say, check out what I said to see it for yourself. Don't just believe me. And that's my old saying that he says all the time. It's like listening to myself, but twisted. He admits it, too, by the way. They talked to insiders. It was in the New York Magazine article. Oprah Winfrey, Alex Jones. It's kind of a fusion of those two. Fake emotionalism. And let me tell you why I know Glenn Beck's really bad. Because, again, he's going after me to tell his audience, don't listen to him, he's dangerous, he's bad. I'll tell you why he's doing this. Because he's so cynical and so worldly and so... And I hope he's got a good side. Every time I hope, I just see the nastiness. That he said he was going blind from macular degeneration. I've had Dr. Blaylock, all these brain surgeons, neurosurgeons, optometrists on, that aspartame is wood alcohol based. It breaks down into that. And wood alcohol makes you go blind. It causes macular degeneration. It starts dissolving the cornea and the nerve connections. And so I wrote an article saying, hey, Glenn, you're asking for sympathy and you're out, at this rehabilitation center for weeks and all this. I said, Glenn, man, stop drinking Diet Coke. I see you every time on your show with one. And he makes a big deal out of it. And he attacked me and told me I was a joke and scum. I mean, look, Glenn Beck knows that's bad. He talks about eugenics. No one talked about that. I put it on the map. I'm not even proud of that. I'm just trying to warn people. So, in a way, it's good he's ripping us off. But the problem is he's doing it so he can control the movement and be a gatekeeper. That's the issue. And he's doing it at a time when the enemy is coming against me and calling for me to be shot on CNN last night. And I'm being followed around by folks and harassed. I mean, folks, I'm Alex Jones. We even got some video. Do showed it to these guys going like this and turning up against walls when we come by. I mean, all over the place. You walk in the hotel, there they are. It's like, what in Hades is going on? I mean, this is real. They're on TV saying I ought to be shot. And this guy doesn't even want me to say when Matt Drudge, he had a story up yesterday about the EU documenting it's killing people and making them go blind and how they may ban it. Actually, something reasonable going on. Even though the EU is a tyranny, some of their bureaucrats know it's really bad. It's in most products now. It's in over 10,000 I know of. And to make a long story short here, Drudge had another story up yesterday just warning people. Just, hey, oh, by the way, look, they're admitting this is hurting you. Just a normal thing. Hey, by the way, don't drink antifreeze. I mean, it's spiritual sickness. And again, people are always sending me emails or comments. Team up with Glenn Beck. And I don't try to say anything about him because I know, because I hear from listeners every week or so he's making snide remarks. And you know, it doesn't get to me at an ego level. It hurts me to know that he is to take over. That's his job, is to be the patriot. He's the guy we're all supposed to go to. And I just hope if something happens to me, folks, that other leaders stand up and spring up and are out there. That's what I've tried to do with reporters and others that are here, is that we just can't let them have these Judas goats. And you can look at anybody and say, hey, they're a Judas goat, they're a Judas goat. I've been accused of that. But with Glenn Beck, man, I mean, he said Ron Paul supporters want to blow up buildings and the army should be used against them. And if you're like, I never heard that, just search it. You know, use the army on Ron Paul supporters. Ron Paul says he's a demagogue. I mean, at key points when he was about to win primaries, he came out and said, Ron Paul, people are liberals. They want to blow up buildings like Oklahoma City. I mean, and he's just really duplicitous. And now he says he is Ron Paul. And he's our leader. Well, I'm not your leader, and neither is Glenn Beck. You've got to be your leader to turn this around. Jakari Jackson, we've got this clip that, I mean, tell us your view on this, because we were talking about this morning, and you could, you know, break down the video clip. What's your take on this, and tell us what clip's coming up here.
Well, this is a clip from the Glenn Beck show. I don't normally watch Glenn Beck. The guys here at the office said, hey, check this out. And so I took a look at it, and it's, like I said, I never watched the show, but it's what I expected to see. It's just Alex Jones is bad. He talked about your visit on Piers Morgan, and they said, here's this guy, Alex Jones, going on Piers Morgan. At first, they didn't want to mention you by name. Then one of the guys slipped up and said, Alex Jones. You know, Glenn Beck was referring you to that other guy, that crazy guy, that fascist, that whatever. This guy who shreds the Constitution or something. To this
deceiver.
Yeah. He stands on a mountain of lies and says he's pro-Constitution. Then he says he's, you know, debunked FEMA camps and all these other things, you know. Forgot to put, you know, I
mean, we have all the bills. We have all the name of it, Civilian Inmate Labor Camp Program, Model States Health Emergency Powers Act, Civilian Internment of Facilities, the Emergency Internment Facilities, the Executive Orders, the Army Manuals.
Right.
And I sent all that kind of stuff to him during his month-long investigation 3 years ago.
Right. But it's a hit piece. You know, people do what they do. And, you know, he had his guys there with him. They're laughing about, you know, you and how you hang out with Charlie Sheen. One of the guys tried to do an Alex impression and actually, you know, I guess he was saying he wanted to have some type of sexual.
Well, they didn't say it. Well, they've said before that I must have, you know, been doing something with him in the shower, which is obviously I can own him for that, but whatever. And the point is, I knew Charlie Sheen before he went back into drugs. He'd been off drugs for over a decade.
Right.
Really smart guy. And I went out to L.A. quite a bit, you know, to be on TV shows and stuff. And I just, you know, obviously I went out there when he was getting off drugs. He was pretty wild. The media was saying he didn't go to the hospital for a hernia. And I had seen him when he'd come back from surgery.
Right.
He'd been out swimming. I said, man, I've seen you know, I've seen your hernia. And they go, yeah, in the shower with him, having sex, you know.
Yeah,
they didn't say this yesterday. They said it before. And again, this is the type of bizarreness that goes on from these people. Let's go ahead and play. Did you get it all in there where I'm a fascist and all this?
Oh, yeah. It's about a minute long, but I think I got everything in there that they said.
Okay, let's go ahead and go to that clip right now. Here it is.
Piers Morgan, whose clear agenda is gun control. And what's his face, whose clear agenda is the government is out of control, which it is.
Alex Jones is using this so he can be more popular and more people will talk about him.
So now they immediately books the madman.
This is how they want every Tea Partier to seem like that guy, the screaming moron, the fat moron.
I think he is psycho. I don't know what he is, except a conspiracy theorist. You cannot say, I'm for the Constitution, and declare it standing on a mountain of deceit. That sounds like the ravings of a fascist. I'm not the FEMA camp guy. Wow. This guy's a real danger. Wow.
This is the guy who was convincing 50% of Democrats that George W. Bush was responsible for bringing down the World Trade Center.
And if you don't agree with him, you don't just disagree. You're in on it.
I don't know what he is a really he's a really spooky guy.
You know, I'm somebody who's been spooked by evil and who's standing up as best I can and just asking God to give me guidance. And I'm in the arena. And Glenn, you were a liberal shock jock guy that had wars with all the other talk show hosts in every city you were in. You've admitted it. Man, I'm not in some war with you, bud. Okay, I want to try to be a friend, but I've watched you. I've been told, man, Glenn Beck tells people that he won't have them on if they ever have you on. And you're told this 4 or 5 times, and then you're at Fox, and they go, Glenn Beck's throwing a fit. You can't come on.
Interesting that he, just like Piers Morgan did, it wasn't about the issues. It wasn't about the things you're talking about, like the 1.6 billion bullets. It's that Alex Jones said it. And we didn't have time to put it in that clip, but he says, if you got that story from Infowars, it must not be true that there's 1.6 billion bullets being bought by the government. And so on. Same thing with Piers Morgan. You know, he has you on the show, and it's not about, you know, gun rights and this and that. It's about being deported, which, you know, yeah, it is something you are a part of. But the larger issue is gun rights in this country, and he completely ignores that and just, why do you want to deport me? Why do you want to deport me? And even said it at the beginning of the interview with Piers.
We got a bunch of foreigners telling us what to do. Nobody put up with this.
Right.
Obviously, you're not getting deported. I told him that before the show. I said, nobody's going to deport you. It's to point out you're here telling us what to do, and nobody else would put up with that. And then he goes back into it on the show. But my issue is, if you watch the whole clip of them, they are freaked out and upset that I'm in the media.
Right.
And again, this isn't some big breakthrough for us. This is a great time of danger. We already had a giant audience when Piers Morgan goes, you have a huge audience, you have too much power, you're dangerous. Glenn Beck says the exact same thing.
Right.
You said George Bush blew this up. When I said government knew about it, government opened the doors for these people, government's running Al-Qaeda today, Glenn, I mean, I should get an apology from Glenn Beck. But they're trying to get conservatives to hear me and go, well, everything he says must be bad. Because if we get aggressive, we win. Notice how the so-called left is always aggressive with us.
Right.
But then we're not supposed to go, hey, man, stop lying and saying you don't want my guns. The bills are introduced, Morgan.
Right. Just when Piers Morgan, he had Larry Pratt on, he was yelling at him, calling him stupid and all this and that. And when he's, you know, when you're there, he's sitting there all calm and collected. Then the next night he's like, oh, I just let Alex Jones make fun of me and yell at me and stuff. And even I had to make a joke about it last night when I did the intro for the Tonight, the nightly news show. And I said that Piers Morgan's master strategy was to sit there while you threw facts at him and say nothing. You know, that was his master strategy. And then the next night, of course, once you're gone, you're back here in Texas. Then he comes out, Alex Jones this and Alex Jones that.
Well, what's amazing about the Glenn Beck bullet quote, we'll have to play that tomorrow, we don't have time, I'll take a few calls after this, is that you see the deception. He's going, oh, somebody brought it to me. And I'm like, oh, that guy, that's all lies. And then later he's like, it might even be true, but you can't believe it. And then later, oh, don't, I might be wrong, check it. Because he knows absolutely well there's links to the federal government admitting it, but he's going to sit there and say I'm a liar. All right, we'll do a little bit of overdrive, take your calls, and I'm going to go debate fake liberal authoritarian Tom Hartman on his radio show and a bunch of other stuff. You know, I have to get myself right with God and realize just how serious all this is. And that's what I mean. It's very sick to watch people engage in media tricks against their audience. It just disgusts me. It's like I don't even hate Glenn Beck or Piers Morgan or that Daily Beast guy saying I should be killed. I hate the hypocrisy that I'm the bad guy while they're lying about me and saying I should be killed. Jakari, before we take a few calls here in this segment and the next, any other points you'd like to add?
Well, just, you know, we were watching the Piers Morgan last night, me and some of the guys here at the studio, and I couldn't believe just, you know, the clip you've been playing. This guy says, yeah, we should kill Alex Jones, and they're going to spin it and say, oh, we were joking about it. But if you said something like that, it'd be some big story about, oh, look at this evil gun guy. It's just like with the NRA after the Sandy Hook, that people said, hey, go kill the NRA, and that was perfectly fine.
Well, we think the cops were all over us, not so much for intimidation now, but because they were scared. And like, oh, Alex Jones is coming. You know, what's going to happen? It's just like, come on, man. You guys, I know you think it's tough to be authoritarians. It's bad. It'll destroy the country. Even if you're evil, it will destroy productivity.
Right.
I mean, we've gone down this road. This is bad for the enforcers. I mean, do you guys really want to play dictator?
I think they do. That's exactly what...
I mean, it's a nightmare. And I'm thinking, you know, the thing is, I could be a selfish person, shut up, play along, leave the country, whatever, and survive. My spirit can't let me, Jakari.
Right.
My flesh says, man, don't do this, but my spirit's in control. It's like, you're going to do it.
Right.
You're going all the way. And then to have some sniveling usurper liar say that I am a deceiver makes me angry. You work behind the scenes here. Are we trying to deceive people?
No, we're not trying to deceive people. I mean, I don't know Glenn Beck's agenda. I don't know Piers Morgan's agenda, but what we do here, what this is real.
That came out 3 weeks before it all started. I said, they're coming for our guns.
Right, and we've been telling people forever that they want your guns, that Obama wants your guns, but, you know, even though he's saying it in debates, in these different forums, people didn't want to believe it, and now it's coming all out, and it's that shift. It was, they're not coming for your guns, and now you shouldn't care that they're coming for your guns.
And we're going to kill Alex, but that's nice, too.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. And
well, I mean, they're always talking about how they want to put us in forced labor camps and stuff.
Right.
Belafonte's like, well, what else can Obama do? Put his detractors in camps? I mean, and then I've got the bills and I've got the orders, and Beck's like, that doesn't exist. Alex is bad. Right. I'm willing to come up here, folks, and tell you what's going on. Have you been on the Army.mil and seen the FEMA camp documents for yourself?
I've seen it.
I mean, they just hope you don't go look it up, folks.
I mean, it's all out there in your face. All you have to do is look for it. I mean, of course.
They're now announcing gang checkpoints all over the country.
We've reported on that.
Where you pull up and they search your car.
Right.
Go and take your shirt off. I want to see if you're a gang member. Got any guns in here?
Right.
That's martial law, boys and girls.
All the while, they can give you a cavity search, you and everybody in your vehicle using the same glove.
Yeah, again, a cavity search is obviously illegal.
Right.
Unless it's an emergency. Now, we're going to do it all. And they're just like, and the DPS is like, yeah, that's good. It's all about see what we can get away with.
People just won't stand up to it because they believe.
I don't understand it.
Yeah, because they believe these other guys that even though you're physically being assaulted, that doesn't exist. The FEMA camp doesn't exist. The cavity checks roadside don't exist because we say it doesn't exist.
Now the NSA is like, yeah, we're listening to all of you that warrants. Shut up.
Right.
You're a kook because you don't like it. I thought I was a kook. I thought I was a kook because I said it was going on.
Yeah.
See, we're not good guys now that we're right. We're even worse, Jakari.
The NSA told me I was crazy. I could find their place on the Google map. So I'm crazy for I can.
Yeah, you're there at an admitted NSA base. It's in the papers. And they're like, this isn't an NSA base.
I'm like, you're across the street from a Walmart, man. What are you doing out here? And the guy was like, I asked the guy, Alex. I said, what is this place? He was like, I can't tell you what this place is. I was like, man, I found on a Google map. This is the NSA base. And the guy, I can't confirm or deny that, sir.
It's all part of a big joke. I mean, they're putting cancer viruses on our vaccines. Glenn Beck's going blind from aspartame. And I try to help him, and he says I'm the devil for it. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. All right, final segment here, a little overdrive. Sorry I didn't get to everybody. I'll try tomorrow. I'll try my best. Again, I can't stand what I do on radio. I'm just doing the best job I can. Bill in Virginia, finish your point about a FEMA announcement you heard. Go ahead.
Thanks, Alex, for taking my call again. Yeah, yesterday on a local radio station here in Virginia, they did a PSA from FEMA, and it kind of concerned me a little bit because of listening to your show. Basically, they said they put out a few points that we all should have 3 days of water and food, duct tape and plastic to seal doors and windows, and some sort of high-quality dust mask for any biological or other attacks.
Yeah, and let's be clear. They break in now and take control, and they always start with that. Next, it'll be report illegal guns. I've already seen them do this a few years ago. You're just in the beginning stages. Our cell phones now are getting FEMA overrides, which we knew were coming. Now they're saying it's going to be messages from the president forced onto your phone.
Yeah, they were very urgent about doing it in January and making sure it's done this month.
Yeah, no. But they want you to know when everything collapses, they tried to keep you safe. But you're kooky if you get a year's supply. You're only supposed to be a week's supply or a 3-day supply. It's all psych warfare. Why is FEMA wired into they have an internet kill switch now, all the radio, all the TV, UHF, VHF, cable. They all are wired in to put out whatever messages they want. But they don't need to take over. They've already got their messages going out, except talk radio. And there's only a few hosts that'll tell it like it is. I mean, and we're going to lose everything. I see good signs by a lot of conservatives are really getting hardcore now because they better. It's time to admit I've been right. Ron Paul's been right. It's classic tyranny, folks. It's time to admit we've been right, okay? I mean, that's what's so frustrating is that we don't want to be proven right the rest of the way, okay? I appreciate your call, my brother. Scott in California, you're on the air, disagrees, goes ahead.
Hey, I was just calling because I wanted to comment on the CNN interview. And I'm one of, I think, many that think that you did more harm to the cause of, the libertarian, freedom-oriented.
Sure, because Piers Morgan told you so?
No, not at all. I've been listening to you since 2003, and you calling him a redcoat, doing the British accent, doing everything. I mean, imagine if he was black and you would have done the stereotypical black accent.
So you're a former liberal who's now become a libertarian because look, Lottie, I'll make fun of the snot-nosed upper-class twits that they even make fun of over in England all day long. Okay, I'll do that all I want. And the point is we put it in their face about what was happening. And again, could I have done a better job? Absolutely. But I'm in the arena. I'm in the arena. Do you understand that?
You quintessentially fit every single stereotype.
All right, hit pause.
Gun owner.
They use those stereotypes of what they don't want us to be because that's winning. Our founders murdered people, according to the British Redcoats, who abused their rights. Killed them. Okay, I'm not calling for that. I got in their face. Oh, are you concerned about them saying I need to be shot last night? Oh, that's just funny. But me getting in their face, that's not good, right?
No, you're the one that's always ranting about COINTELPRO, and that's exactly what you were doing. You were controlled opposition, dude.
Well, you know what? I am myself, and I believe what I did was right, getting mad at him, so I appreciate your call. COINTELPRO goes around and tries to get people to fight with each other in infighting. COINTELPRO does what you just did. I don't think you're COINTELPRO. That's just an old 60s, 70s term of one form of psychological warfare they engage in. The cognitive infiltration that Sunstein talks about is more important. Here's the deal, Bud. I told you about 3 months ago they were going to come with executive orders for the guns. Now it's a fairmonger. It's now happening. So I tell you what, you know what? You go out there, you build the media organization, and you engage the globalist. No, you're not going to do that. You're going to spend all day running around on every website and every message board talking about how bad I am. You're not even sophisticated enough to know that actually helps me, okay? You don't understand that in a brain-dead mass of people, I'm there to shake them out of their coma. Go read the best minutes of television ever. James Rappaport's article, I should read that. John Rappaport. It is powerful. It explains it. Get him out of the hypnosis.